All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Tuesday, November 14th, 6 p.m. We are calling today's commission meeting into order. Madam Clerk, if you'll take the roll, please.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Danziger.
Present.
Vice Mayor Rose.
Here.
Commissioner Landsman.
Present.
Commissioner Mashad is absent. Commissioner Velasquez.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Chief. If you'll lead us, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all.
All right, just want to welcome everybody here today who is joining us, those that are watching at home, those that are watching next week, whatever it is. We still appreciate everybody here. Again, I just want to congratulate the town. This last week, we had a recent referendum to go over the results of the recommendations by the Charter Review Committee. This is something that happens once in a decade. Every 10 years, the town is required to go through that. And while everybody may have their own personal beliefs, this is still a democracy, and this is the way the process works. And Surfside is very fortunate to have such a large turnout. We had a record turnout. Almost beat our last election. So that's an amazing thing to see everybody so involved. And I just want to congratulate our community for that and for everybody for taking such an active role. As you may have noticed, there's some new microphones in this chambers. There's a couple of new additions. IT has been doing a whole job here. Audio, video, it's still being worked on. So there's a couple of kinks to work through. So please be patient as we try to figure those things out. And that's it for me. Commissioner Landsman, turning it over.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome to all here in chambers and to those watching from home. Thank you to everyone that attended the rally in support of Israel on Sunday, November 5th at Veterans Park. It was an emotional and inspirational event to show Surfside's love and support for Israel. Last week, Tuesday, Surfside had a special election to consider 5 charter amendments. 2 passed and 3 failed. I thank the 1,400 residents that voted in person or by mail. This is the way democracy works. We continue to move forward for the town of Surfside. In closing, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving holiday next week. I hope we can all enjoy being with our family and friends next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Velasquez.
Wow, this is a little far. Good evening, everyone that's here. Thank you for joining us at our monthly meeting. Yes, we had an amazing election. And the residents of Surfside saw right through the lies that this commission had put forward and to try to put our town in a bunch of debt. We knew exactly what was going on. And 1,400 voters came out. And we made sure that we were going to protect our town. So I want to thank all those residents that came out to vote on November 7th. Surfside won on November 7th. So that was a great day. And hopefully in the future, we'll see some beautiful days coming soon. Again, thank you very much. And I hope we have a great meeting.
Thank you, everybody, for being here and watching in person. I want to first thank Jose and his team for the beautiful mic upgrades we got. I want to thank our Public Works for the new beach path lighting that's been going in, also for fixing the sewer. They had a backup till 1:30 in the morning, and they stayed here to fix it. Also, in-house, we created a new park with our Public Works Department at 92nd Street, a new pocket park. I've heard some great things from Jim and Marisol and their team that permits are going rather quickly right now. Plans are being reviewed much quicker, so great job, you and your team. And I want to really thank our police and Parks and Rec for being there, helping set up, being part of the Stand With Rally and the Veterans Day Parade, Commissioner Landsman and the mayor for attending with me. And of course, all the residents, the 1,400 that showed up and actually voted, because there is something called truth in government, and I don't believe Commissioner Velasquez voted. And it's...
My vote is private, so whatever.
I was hoping you were going to say that, because we have already done the public records request, and you did not vote. So...
I
And do you know why she didn't vote? Is because she would be committing a felony, which is why the North Miami Beach mayor was removed, and she was advised not to vote. So there is truth in government, and where there will be a lot of information. Ma'am, I am talking. I did not interrupt.
Commissioner Velasquez, please don't interrupt.
So residents will see what happens the next 4 months. We have a lot of new faces. We have a new election coming in March, and we're all looking forward to that. But there is truth in government, and we will be seeing, and a lot of information will be coming out there, and we'll see who stands behind who and who has integrity and who has character, and we look forward to the next 4 months and beyond. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Moving on to item 1E, agenda and order of business. Anybody want to add? Remove?
Mayor, please, if I may. I would like to touch 2 items. I'd like to walk on an item specifically. It's we passed a resolution last month. It had a small clerical error. We can't fix a clerical error without having it ratified by this commission. So I want to walk it on so I can explain to you the clerical error and request a motion to approve it with the changes. That item, I'd like to request it immediately after the consent agenda, if it's possible, after 3K. Additionally, I would like to pull an item out of the consent agenda, which is item 3K, as a standalone item, as we're seeking to modify it. The item pertains to the purchase of police vehicles. We would like to make a change to it, which would allow us to declare certain vehicles as surplus vehicles, which will allow us to sell those off. So we just want to do that 2-for-1 in that reso rather than bringing it next month. So if you allow me to pull it out, I'll make a request, and if it's the will of the commission, we'll modify that resolution accordingly. So those are the 2 items I'm seeking, and you could add that one anytime after the outside of consent at your will.
All right, can we get a motion as such?
Motion to approve the changes?
Second.
Clarification, we're pulling item 3K out of consent, and we're adding an item after consent. I don't have an item number, but we'll throw that in there.
Mr. Mayor, could I also make a move to the agenda?
Well, let's just vote on this, and then we'll
Fine.
move on. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Commissioner Landsman?
Oh, I'm not opposed.
I'd like to move a discussion item to an earlier part of the agenda, 9C, which is the discussion of a potential donation to Magen David Adom. I've asked a couple of residents who are here who brought this to my attention, our attention, and I'd like to have them have a chance to speak to us before the later part of the evening. So I'd like to move 9C. Where, Mr. Manager, would it make sense? Would it be appropriate after 1G before consent, or do we have to wait till after?
It can be prior to consent. I'll defer to the clerk to confirm, but yes, we could be after
Yes.
after
It could be after 1G.
after
Okay,
1G,
let's-
which is
Let's make it 1H.
yes. We could do that if it's the will of the commission.
Yeah, so this is 9C.
Correct, 9C.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Oh, aye, sorry.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. All right. I want to add an item to the agenda.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I did want to pull out this 3I, the drone show. I just wanted to have a couple of questions on that one.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to pull out 3I. I just have a couple of questions, or I can ask them now, but the last time I did that, and I was told to pull out the item.
Is there a second?
Okay, I guess not.
Motion failed.
Just a question, Mr. Manager, we can have a discussion on something in consent if there are questions, correct?
Through the mayor, if there's just specific questions as part of that consent, we can ask the questions as far as consent as a whole, if you will, and that way we can address those. If it's just a few questions, I can address them when we're discussing the whole consent as a whole.
Okay. Well, I have a question on that item.
Not right now, no.
We're not there.
During consent.
Oh, during consent. Okay, I thought we were during consent right now. Okay, no
All right.
problem.
As I was saying, I'd like to add an item to this agenda. We were supposed to have an update on independent investigation that has been going ongoing, involving a current elected official, involving some formal complaints by some town staff, alleging
You guys are desperate, aren't you?
harassment and intimidation by an elected official. Unfortunately, this is something that we need to address or we incur liability to the town. And I'd like to get an update. So I want to add an item at the end of consent, and it can be after the new item the manager added to just discuss the status on this investigation.
Desperation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Hold on,
Commissioner,
Mayor.
you have to
Mayor,
pick one.
Give me a second. So you made the motion, who seconded?
Whatever they want, that's fine with me.
Vice Mayor, I believe.
That's the face of desperation right there.
All right.
No
Moving
doubt.
on to 1F, community notes.
On your way out. To give your last kiss.
So first, what's important, we just had a beach event. I think it was the first or second in the series. Frank's not here, so I'll just make it up. It was a beautiful event. Again, we have a lot going on here in Surfside, so I encourage residents to come out. The weather's getting cooler, meet your neighbors, and make some new friends. And these events are beautiful. So hope you can join us for the next one. We had Memorial Day this past weekend. Veterans Day, thank you. I want to thank the Vice Mayor for emceeing this event. It was, and everybody who came out. I would like to see more people out there. I think it's an important lesson to teach your children, and the next generation is, some sort of gratitude. Everything that we have here is not free. It is fought for every day. The military is not just an offensive, but also defensive, and it's important to recognize that. So, again, I'd like to see these events more attended by our residents. I know we sent out a lot of notification. It's only a matter of respect. So, but it was a beautiful event, and again, I want to thank the town staff for putting this on and making it a priority, even on a Saturday. We had a lot of staff from Parks and Rec there, our police department, to make sure that this happened. So thank you, everybody, for coming out. This week, I think it's happening right now until this Thursday, it's called Give Miami Day. They are raising money for our school over here in Ruth K Broad Elementary. They are trying to raise some money for a library, a school library. The goal is...
Flyer.
There's a flyer?
The goal is $30,000 to renovate our library.
$30,000. Jose, do we have a flyer? I don't know. The goal is $30,000. I know at this point we're almost there. We have till this Thursday, so this is for the children that affect our community. The website, if Jose can't pull this up, is www.giveMiamiDade.org/organization/RKBBHK8, which is Ruth K Broad, Bay Harbor, K through 8. Anybody who's in the school knows the abbreviation, but again, givemiamidade.org/organization/RKBBHK8. We have till Thursday. Let's open up our wallets. As is customary this month, we're going to recognize our town staff anniversaries. We have Captain Jay Metellus, who is not here today, is celebrating 15 years. Is he here?
Through the mayor, he's currently at a training right now. So I would like the chief to accept his certificate on his behalf and welcome the opportunity for a picture, as well as you have another name, of course.
All right. So I was going to give him a whole nice speech, but he's not here.
You can still do it.
I remember Captain Jay, who was, when I moved here, what was it, like 14 years ago at this point? He's kind of always been the face of the police department on the street. I don't think there's any residents that don't know him. He's got a lot of funny stories if you ask him. But we saw his promotion recently to captain. We're all very happy for him and for our department and our town. We wanted to wish him a lot of luck with that. He was our PIO for a while, public information officer, and he's worn many hats. So congratulations to Jay. We were going to take a photo, but you're not here. We also had, I know, Irina. You celebrated 10 years last month. We did say something, but you weren't here, and I know that the manager wants to present you with something, and we'd love to take a photo with you if you're available. But let me just finish off, and we'll do that.
Through the mayor, absolutely. So Jay, I agree. We won't let him slide that easy. We will recognize him. We will put him on the spot, and we'll take a picture of him. But out of the love we have for Irina, the quality employee that she is, and the assistance she provides, the time she's been here, it's only fair to recognize her and give her a proper picture in its place. So when the commission is able to, and when we're willing, I'd like us to go up front. I can hand her a certificate as well as a pin. We will take a picture of her so she could have it forever.
She can have it forever for the next 10 years. You want to do that, and then we'll finish this? All right.
Front page of the Gazette.
Jim, a little more to the left. A little more to the left. Oh, Chief. Oh, sorry. How you doing? Yeah.
Turn it in, Jim.
No idea what you vote. Sorry.
All right. So this is the part of the meeting where I kind of go through decorum again. I've been asking for it for about 1 year and 3/4. I'm going to keep asking for it until we get it. Again, just be respectful. If you're, wait until you're recognized to speak. Please don't yell out from the public, or at some point we will have to remove you if you're going to disrupt this meeting. That goes for the commission as well as the public. Wait until you're recognized. There are moments when you can't speak. Did you want to say something? Or Randy. So again, please try to maintain decorum all in the room. This is a government meeting. This is not a circus party, and let's try to behave as such. Usually we have the committee chairs give a little bit of a presentation. We don't have a lot of people here. Do you guys want to cover P&Z and Tourist Board? I know there's a lot of exciting new programs coming. Well, Tourist Board had one. Mr. Vice Chair, do you want to share some of the exciting things that are coming over the next couple of months?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kind of last minute here. I don't really have any notes, but just going over yesterday's meeting. We had the beachside soirees, which are currently going on right now. Very well attended the other day. We just did an approval for a art festival that should be coming up. I think end of January timeframe. We've got a Taste of Surfside event, which will be a pretty big event, up 250 people. They might even try to go more from that, and it's basically going restaurant to restaurant. So that's going to be a really amazing event. Look forward to that in the second quarter. We've also approved the third Thursday operations, so we're going to have those third Thursdays back in front of the city, down, right on 93rd Street. And as usual, we're trying to find other events and activities to put in. I think we're up to something like 40 events this year, so we're close to one event per week, which is kind of been the goal, is to keep things happening. Not everybody loves music, not everybody loves comedy. Everyone has their own items, and the idea here is that if we give events for every item and everything, we attract tourism from all over. One of the board members actually made a comment at the meeting. They're like, well, there's all these people coming from all over, and we're like, yeah, that's the point. We're bringing in all these people into the town. They're going to our shops, they're going to our stores. So I think we're having a very successful tourist board, and we always hope the community will come and give us feedback of other events and things we might miss, because we want to get everything.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Appreciate the update. On behalf of myself and the Town Commission, I do want to recognize and thank Randy and our Public Works team. I think a lot of people are sleeping, but on November 6th, I was driving around almost 1:30 in the morning, and Randy and his team were out there. The town had a clogged sewer system, and they were going from place to place to try to figure that out. It wasn't a pretty job. I was able to smell it a couple of blocks away, and these guys were out there working till 1:30 in the morning. So I just want to let this community know, I mean, we wake up in the morning, things seem to be working, things are running. You don't realize what's going on in the back end. One of the privileges that we have, and definitely I've had, working here for the last year or so, is getting to see what goes on behind the scenes and the amount of work and the people that are behind everything that we get to enjoy every day. So I wanted to recognize, of course, Public Works, Randy and his team that were out there till 1:30 in the morning. We had no idea until we woke up. We didn't even know that this was happening. But again, we wanted to appreciate it, and I really wanted to show a little something. And I know the commission wants to recognize the hard work, so I wanted to pass the gavel, make a motion, or direct the town manager to give every one of these people that were working that late a $100 gift card. Give me a second.
Yes, that's to add to that, Mayor. Absolutely. The agenda, we had a sewer emergency substantial. It happened over the weekend. A lot of the guys had plans. They stopped what they were doing. They came in here and they responded for the town. So they were here to make sure your sewer system was working properly when you woke up. So I do owe all the thank you to that man right there, Randy Stokes, Public Works Director, and his team for all those efforts. As far as if the commission wants to do something, I'm not going to say no. So I think that's in good taste, and it's a small enough. It's small enough that they would appreciate big enough.
I'll second that.
What are we giving? I didn't hear what we're giving. Sorry. Sorry, it's been too much talk and I didn't get to hear the part where they're saying what they're giving. Sorry, Randy. I know you do a great job. Just curious. Sure.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to be recognized?
All right, so let me reiterate. I would rate a motion to give Randy and his team that were out here till 1:30 in the morning, whoever was here working on this, a $100 gift card to direct the town manager.
Gift card for how much?
$100.
Sounds great.
That's the motion. It's on the table.
Second.
A second. You gotta call it.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Velasquez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lansman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danziger,
Yep.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. I'll take this back. Thank you, Randy and your team. You want to say something? You're really standing up
for
there.
the record, I mean, the $100, what I'm going to do is use it for a barbecue for my guys.
I'll let your daughter know that.
Thank you.
By the clerks.
Say something.
Actually, I'm in the middle of my notes, if you don't
I'm
mind.
sorry?
I'm in the middle of my notes, if you don't mind.
How many notes do you have?
All right, moving on. This weekend, this Saturday, we're going to have a program called Cram the Cruiser. We'll ask, if you don't mind, through the manager, if we can get the chief to come up and just kind of give the community a little bit of background on this program.
Good evening, everybody, Mayor, Commissioners. Yeah, we came up with this program. It's going to be this Saturday, right here at Town Hall from 8 a.m. to 11. We're going to be collecting either perishable foods, non-perishable foods, or gently used clothing. The perishable foods we are going to be taking to the domestic violence shelter here in Miami-Dade County, the one that sometimes we have to interact with. And the gently used clothing will be donated to Sergeant Marion Cruz charitable organization, Closet or Living Hope. She provides free clothing to needy families. So basically, your needy family, she works a lot with churches and nonprofit organizations. They come, they go through clothing, and it's just a great thing. Every bag of clothing or food that we get, you're gonna get a limited edition little Mike doll. So it's gonna be, we're gonna try to set it up as a drive-through right here at Town Hall, limited edition. We're gonna set it up right here in Town Hall, try to do a drive-through. So you can walk up, you can drive through, and come by Saturday morning, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Maybe we can make a motion that everybody on the commission automatically gets a limited edition Mike plush doll. All right. So thank you, Chief. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to item 1G, which is presentation of the 2023 Public Pension Standards Awards for funding and administration. Turning over to the manager, Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'll keep this short, but nonetheless, the short will not carry the weight that this carries because it's a prestigious award given to our pension committee. It's a committee put together by residents as well as town staff, and it represents various members of the employee body, and ultimately it's the board that through the powers of the commission allows us to operate our pension program. Just to give you a quick background on the council, the Public Pension Coordinating Council at a national level manages over 500 pension boards. At least we're represented by them, over 500, of which represents over 18 million government employees, of which they have criterias and they see how we operate. And if we meet certain criterias, we're proclaimed that we receive an award, and we receive an award. We've consecutively received an award, and it's through the hard works of getting together every quarter, assessing all the information provided to us by the experts, and making effective decisions to have a healthy pension program. I want to give a shout out. I want to offer the opportunity, Mayor, if it's good, if it's the will of the commission, to take a picture of the award. But ultimately, we were recognized as a Public Pension Standards Award for funding and administration for the year 2023. We do have a resident member of the board here, but I would like to go over the names of all the pension board members, as the body is the body of all the members. Want to give a shout out to the resident member that is here, Valentine Whittaker. And I will call him up, and he's for a picture. Gary Golding, he was on his way, but it's a bit of a rough night tonight, as you know. Gary Golding as well, and both are senior members of this board. They've served various years, and we, as the town staff, cannot thank you enough. You bring a specific expertise to this board, and you help us manage certain things that, quite frankly, we're not the most capable of, but your advice does help us, and it shows with these awards we've received. Staff members we have representing the police department, Sergeant Torres. Representing the employee body are Yami Slate McLeod, our human resource director, and as well as myself as a town manager. We have an administrator, which is Mady Gamiota. She is our plan administrator. She handles a lot of day-to-day financial operations of the plan. And then we have the clerk that operates as the clerk for the board, which is Francis Duvall. So with that said, Mayor, I do have the award here with me, and it would be an honor if I could present this award to our current resident board member, as well as take a picture with the commission, and we could have it forever.
Oh, of course. All right, moving on to item 9C. All right. Mr. Commissioner, if you want to introduce the item.
Sure, yeah, 19 now 1H. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was approached, or perhaps the whole commission was approached, but I kind of jumped on this one by two of our residents, Sherry and David Lombardi, who are here in the audience with us. They brought this organization to my attention, Magen David Adom, which is the National Israeli Paramedic and Red Cross Service. October 7th changed the world, as we all know, and tragedy, just incredible loss, and a lot of communities across the globe, here in the U.S. as well, realize that they need to do more. This organization supplies, again, ambulance services throughout the entire state of Israel, and now more than ever, that's a very important service for citizens and residents of Israel, for safety, for health, and getting back on their feet. So they asked that we would consider a donation to this organization. I brought this up as a discussion item. They're here, and I'd like to, if the mayor will approve, ask them to come up and speak for a few minutes on the organization and perhaps what other communities here in South Florida are doing as well. Mr. Mayor, is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mayor, Commissioners. Much appreciated. Since October 7th, we've been before City of Miami Beach as well as City of Aventura. They were kind enough, each of those municipalities, to unanimously vote us donating an ambulance to Magen David Adom. Before you, you have a menu of items that are constantly in need for the paramedics to have, whether it's goods on the ambulance or a metacycle themselves. And it's also important to note that Magen David Adom is also the national blood center for the state of Israel, as well as a mother's milk, breast milk center. So after women and children were murdered or taken hostage, there are babies left behind who need the mother's milk. Magen David Adom does it as well. And I thought it would be fitting that the town of Surfside could give back, perhaps, because when we were in need here with the collapse of Champlain, Magen David Adom were the ones who came and were on the ground sifting through rubble and teaching the local paramedics how to do that, search and rescue. So I would consider, or I would appreciate any consideration you could give the organization. And I'll answer any questions.
All right, thank you. I'm going to open up to some public comment, and then I'll bring it back for discussion for the commission. If you guys want to speak on this item, you need to fill out a card with the town clerk. Right now we have Ms. Salzauer. 2 minutes, please. I just want to say we have very nice clocks in the front and the back, so it's your responsibility to keep an eye on your own time here.
Eliana Salzar, 9317 Bay Drive. I think we all have a responsibility to try to help when we can in horrible situations like this. The only problem I have is when we try to sort of corrupt the Champlain collapse as some kind of justification. The two are absolutely separate, unrelated. Mexico came as well to lend a hand. The head of Miami-Dade Fire Rescue is a Palestinian American. Okay, we have Palestinian residents. I do believe we should be supportive and try to help in any way for the return of the hostages, to support Israel however we can. But please do not try to pretend that this is about Champlain. That's disrespectful to the people of Israel. My sister lives there with her whole family. My nephews are there. My cousins are there. My cousin is actually in a morgue all day, identifying body parts. That's what he's been doing for the past few weeks. Okay, so I know exactly what's going on there. And they don't necessarily agree with our politics of sister cityhood and all of that. So let's not make policy for other countries. We make policy for Surfside. We can help other organizations, other countries. A donation would be appropriate in this case, but not because they came here and they sent people, because Mexico came here and Mexico has sustained a number of earthquakes, tragic losses of life there, and we didn't bat an eye. We didn't even address it. Okay? So 100% I would support a donation, but do not confuse the two. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Salzauer. Anybody else? All right, let's close it down. Do you want to give a little more detail, Commissioner, and then we can go back around?
Again, I brought it up as a discussion, not right to a resolution. I wanted to have a discussion about the amount. I know we have limited funds for donations of this type, but in addition, we could probably also through resolution, doing a budget adjustment, Mr. Manager, if I'm correct, to increase that if we needed to. But I wanted to have a discussion of the now four of us about the amount. I know we can't buy an entire life support ambulance, which I think other communities have done, but they perhaps have a much larger budget to do that with. So if I'm correct, the budgeted amount for this line item for fiscal 24 is $22,000 remaining, Mr. Manager, is that correct?
Through the mayor, if I may, Commissioner, when you had requested that number, I was taking into account the previous fiscal year, which we just ended. It's actually $30,500 that this commission has available for the line item under the budget. It's other grants and aids, but it is, it is available to you to provide to as at your will.
We can, again, I don't have a particular number in mind. I don't necessarily think we should use the entire budget line for this one cause. We should save some money for other causes as well. Is $10,000 a good number? Again, I want you guys to chime in so we can come up with some number and make sure that we do something appropriate for this organization.
I was going to say 20,000. So that's what I was thinking. I thought we had 22,000. I thought 20,000 for me was appropriate for everything they've done for us with the residents of our community connected there, them being here for Champlain Towers, us being there for them, our connection with Israel. I absolutely think $20,000 is an appropriate amount.
I'd like to say something. We also have what you so kindly shared earlier with Ruth K. Looking to do their library. I think that we should consider a donation to the school. And honestly, I think 5,000, 10,000 I could probably agree to, but to go to $20,000 when we have our own children and our school that is requesting to get donations for a library, I think giving more than that, I think is not appropriate at the moment. I think giving helping in response to their need at the moment and to support the situation that's happening in Israel, and $10,000 I could support that. But I'd like to also be able to give additional money for Ruth K for their library. So, I mean, I'd like to make a motion to give the additional $20,500 to Ruth K for their library. So I'd like to see if somebody would second that.
Through the mayor, point of information, clerk just clarified an item for me. Even though the full budget amount is $30,500, of that 8,000 was earmarked for the nurse initiative. So that's where your original number of 22 comes from. So that is what you have at this present time. Apologies, and that clarification was needed.
I'd like to adjust my, I guess maybe 5,000 for the ambulance and $17,000 for the Ruth K library. And that's the motion I'm making at the moment.
All right, so it failed lack of a second.
Oh, well, you didn't even call for a second. Normally you
I've
call for a
never
second.
called for a second.
There's not a second here.
All right, do you want to say
Okay,
something,
so
Mr.
you
Vice
guys
Mayor?
don't support Ruth K, but you put
Commissioner,
it
please
on-
don't hijack the item. Let's talk
but
about
you
the
put
item
it on
agenda.
the
I think-
presentation board that you're supporting the school and you're requesting donations, yet we have money in our budget to give to the school and you're not giving.
Commissioner, you're interrupting.
Okay.
Commissioner, first of all, just point of order, point of information. If you were listening to the actual thing, the goal is 30,000. They're halfway through, so 15 would have sufficed, but you're trying to give them more. But okay, Mr. Vice
Well,
Mayor,
then
I'll
15,
open the floor to you.
So I'd be comfortable with 15 for Magdalene David and 5 for the Ruth K School.
Wow. Your children.
I don't think we have a motion yet, which is why you should probably make one and learn your
So
lessons.
again, this item is
Okay, I'll give you
about
my item.
this organization. It's not about Ruth K. Broad. It's not about the library. We can take that up separately
But
if
it
we want.
is, you're taking
I
it from
think-
our
Commissioner,
charity-
please don't
our
interrupt.
charity fund.
Commissioner, please don't interrupt. You had
I
your turn.
think
We're in
bringing it-
discussion.
I think bringing it to the attention of our audience was to make perhaps families, parents of students to make individual contributions. I don't think the intent was for us to discuss it as a donation to Ruth K Broad. That's why I think
So
that
our
was part
town
of.
gives money to everything.
Commissioner,
but
you're out
to
of
our
order.
own
Commissioner, please let the commission
Does that
talk.
sound right to you?
Commissioner, please let Commissioner Landsman speak without being
We're in
interrupted.
discussion.
One at a time.
This is a discussion about a donation to this organization, Magen David Adom, period.
And
If we have $22,000 left, again, I have no problem saving some of those funds. 10 to 15, I think, would be a good portion of that, saving some money for perhaps Ruth K Broad or other organizations as we have time through the remainder of the fiscal year, which pretty much just started October 1st. So let me make a motion to donate to this organization $10,000.
and how much are you giving to Ruth K?
Well, is it on the table right now? That'll be next.
All right, is there a second? Thank you.
Second.
All right, so first of all, I just want to make a point of information. Again, the town of Surfside, I think it was 2 months ago, donated entire home room equipment and things to Ruth K Broad. It's not like we just don't do anything. But today we're here to discuss the Magen David Adom, and I think
need
it's
a
extremely
library.
selfish to try to hijack the item just to show somebody up. And in response to a resident who's not here anymore, Surfside is very much tied because of CTS to Israel. You can keep getting up and saying, that's not the case, but it is. We are forever tied to Israel because of what they did. We happen to have a sister city that we're all very proud of, and we're tied to the people there, and the people are tied to us here. I appreciate that this is coming forward. CTS, again, to come here and keep screaming that we made it political. We're not the one that's on the news turning this CTS into a political tool. In regards to the comment about Mexico, I did look into that. The team that came from Mexico was Cadena, which is actually a bunch of Israelis based out of Mexico. So I keep bringing that up, but whatever. Again, I would support a donation to the library, but that's not what we're here to discuss. And for some reason, you didn't bring it up when we were talking. I'll support whatever this commission brings forward as an amount. If it's 10, 15, 20, whatever it is. So I think
10,000, right?
I said if it's 10, 15, or 20, whatever the commission decides, I support. So
I made the motion at 10. I believe Mr. Vice Mayor did second that. If there's more discussion, call the roll.
all right, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Velasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Landsman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danziger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
I'd like
Thank
to make
you.
a motion.
You don't have the floor, Commissioner.
Okay, point of inquiry, point of information.
That's not how you contain the floor.
Point of order.
Nope.
Whatever the point is. I'd like to make a motion.
You again, Commissioner, you need the floor. You need
Okay,
to be
so
ready.
can you give me the floor so I can make
So
my
you need
motion?
to ask for it. Say,
Can you please give me
the
the
chair.
the floor so I can?
yes, Commissioner Velasquez.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to donate to the Ruth K. Library $10,000 as well.
Sorry, you would have to bring a walk-on item first. This is not on the agenda.
Well, this was a walk-on item.
No, it was not.
Oh, okay, so you don't want to give money.
Commissioner, you would have to bring a walk-on. We
Okay.
had our additions and deletions. We have an entire agenda to get through.
Okay.
Moving on to consent.
Residents, you have heard.
We are pulling item 3K. Before we get through that, we have some public comment on that. Mrs. Salzauer. Mrs. Salzauer, I'm starting your clock.
Aliana Salzar, 9317 Bay Drive. So the item on the consent agenda that stood out to me was spending $65,000 on a drone show. And, the drone show's nice and all, but $65,000 in a 3-year contract is a little bit much. I find that it to be very irresponsible, fiscally irresponsible, to pretend that this is fake money, like it's monopoly money, and you've been hemorrhaging it. I mean, when residents take a look at the finances of this town and how much you guys have hemorrhaged and spent on these boondoggle projects, for everything from this half-baked tennis center idea to ceremonies and special elections. You spent money on a special election to get your proverbial behind handed to you. This is real money that you can do things with the tourist board money. You can buy tennis rackets for the tennis center. So everyone has a tennis racket when they get there. You can buy windsurfers for the beach. You can, I don't know, maybe pay the lifeguards a livable wage. You can do a lot with that. Instead, you're spending it on no bid contracts for drone shows for 10 minutes. I remember when I started in this town, we spent $15,000 on fireworks, and that was a big deal to spend that kind of money. And we even talked about it like, is it worth it? Is it a lot of money? Oh my gosh, it's a lot of money. And now you just throw a zero on a zero on a zero. And personally, I know each of you would never spend money like that. You don't run your personal lives like that, but you're happy to spend the town's money. And you think tourist money is free money. It's not free money. It's money that can be used for significant upgrades. We could have lights at the pool. Instead, the pool closes at 6 o'clock. It's dark at 6. Anyone with a job cannot use the facilities in this town because it closes at 6. Pool lights were going to cost about $200,000, and that seemed like a crazy amount of money. And now, looking back at what you guys have spent, you could have put pool lights on it 5 times. You could have put a second floor in the community center instead of this boondoggle tennis court.
Thank you, Mrs. Salzauer.
Thank you.
Wow.
All right. Mr. Platt, 2 minutes, please.
Why are you giving 2 minutes when on the card it says
Commissioner, you're out of order.
It's okay. I deserve 3, but it's okay. Jeffrey Platt, 9225 Collins Avenue. Can you hear me? Sorry. I'm going to echo much of what Mrs. Salzauer has said. This town is hemorrhaging money. And why? You fired the financial director of the town. There's nobody who could say, hey, you shouldn't do that. Nobody. You have an open checkbook. I actually wonder who's writing the checks. We don't have a chief financial officer anymore. Amazing. Anyway, our fireworks, third rate. Nobody watches our fireworks. Nobody. They all look to the north, to Bal Harbor's fireworks, which is 10 times better. 10 times better. I was at the drone show last year. It must have been put on by a bunch of amateurs. It was not first rate. It wasn't even presentable. It looked like somebody was auditioning. That's what it looked like. But you want to give them... What the fuck was that?
Sir, please watch your tone. Sir, watch your language. You're on public television, all right?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Profanity
you say
is
that
allowed.
word one more time, it is not allowed.
Under the First Amendment.
Sir, you say that word again, you're out. Understood?
No, I don't understand. Your authoritarian, dictatorial, decorum rules are nonsense. Just wait. March. Bye-bye. And then we can have a real meeting, not your fucking nonsense.
All right, please leave the room, sir. Sir, please leave the room.
I'm not leaving the room.
All right. Chief, please remove him.
I had my time, I sit down. There's no reason to kick me out. Just because you say something doesn't mean it. No, I'm not stepping out. No, I'm not. I don't want to step
Recess.
out.
Guys, let's get a recess.
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're allowed. I actually heard the Michigan coach
All right. Let's call this meeting back into order. Madam Clerk, if you'll take the roll, please. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Danziger,
Present?
Vice Mayor Rose,
Here.
Commissioner Lansman,
Present.
Commissioner Velasquez,
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We have no other public comment for consent. At this point, I'm going to shut public comment on consent and start moving it on. I just want to say, unfortunately, we had to remove a resident here for obscenities. Saying the F word on public television to the community is not going to be acceptable. Saying it twice, most definitely not, and you will not be sitting in here and partaking in this meeting. So it's not something we enjoy, but it's something we're going to enforce. Just to respond to a couple of things, hemorrhaging money. I don't know if you were watching this meeting, but we actually just got an award for fiscal responsibility earlier tonight. So this is all, again, just campaigning, but thankfully this town is in good financial condition. Saying there's no CFO, he was actually sitting right here, so it's a little insulting. As far as the drone show, again, it's covered by tourism resort tax, which has an excess of funds. And it turns out that every other city this last year gave us compliments. They were jealous of our drone show. So thank you, Tim and team, the Parks and Rec Committee for putting this on and making this a priority. So I appreciate it.
Can I move to approve consent?
Please.
Second.
I have a question.
All right, we have a question.
Ask a question.
I have a question on the 3I. I'd like to know, is this the same company that came to do the drone show this year? Because unlike the mayor that thinks it was great, I honestly did not think it was the best. So I just want to make sure that we did a due process of going out and finding several companies that would bid on this and bring the appropriate show to our town, especially for a cost of $65,000. I don't oppose spending money for 4th of July. I just want to make sure that things are done the right way and that we have looked for another company because unlike the mayor, I did get a lot of complaints from residents saying that it wasn't the greatest show and that they were turning around to look at the ones from Ball Harbor. So just want to make sure that things are done the right way.
Through the mayor, if I may, I want to give credit where credit is due. I think there's more to say than just answering that question. And I would like to offer our Parks Director to just speak to the process, to speak towards the lessons learned, to speak towards how we've procured this, and lastly, to answer the Commissioner's question. Tim, if you may, please.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Hello. Last year's show was, our first year doing a drone show. Was new to us. And Madam Commissioner, we got a lot of positive feedback on our drone show from last year compared to Bal Harbor's. And I know the director at Bal Harbor very well, so they did an outstanding show too. But yeah, we did do our due diligence this year. We got 3 quotes, which is in this package. We used Verge Aero last year at 125 drones at $55,000. And this year we got Sky Element. We locked into a 3-year deal based on the popularity of drones now. Everybody wants to do drones. So we wanted to get in and procure it now because there's only a handful of companies out there that are doing them. We procured Sky Element. They were sandwiched in between Bal and Miami Beach, are both using that company. I think it's going to make the transition to running this show a lot better this year because we have them centrally located and they're here. And they were at a low bid. And the reason why we locked into a 3-year contract is we got $65,000 for 3 years. Madam Attorney could probably opine on this, but we can get out of our contract at any time. The town always has that clause in there, but at this point, I don't see why, because we're going from 200 drones the first year to 250 the second year to 300 the third year. What that does is helps us to elaborate. It was very unique last year. It was very exciting to get to be a part of that show. We got to coordinate it and choreograph it with the company that was doing it. The more drones, the more dynamic the show. Same thing with fireworks. It's no different. It's going to cost more money the more you do. So having that little bit each year has some nuances that you can spin it each year, because there's only so much you can do with drones unless you get really, really elaborate, go 2,000, 3,000 type of drones where you see the Statue of Liberty, the full size, or the Empire State Building that you probably saw last year in some of the events. So it's exciting. We did our due diligence. I think we locked in talking to Mr. Manager about it the way we should have. The price is only going to go up over years. The popularity, as I said, all the municipalities, not all, I shouldn't say all. It's very popular in municipalities now, and a lot more are getting involved in it.
Thank you, Tim. No, I just wanted to know because I saw the item there and just wanted to make sure that we had done the proper searching for different companies to come and give us a bid. And like, for example, complaints were like that people couldn't tell what the item was, and it didn't turn all the way to face the whole public. So that was one of the things, and I'd like to see that to be addressed for next year. But I totally support the drone program, and fireworks always have. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tim. Madam Clerk, can we call the roll, please?
Commissioner Velasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Lansman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danziger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. We've got 3K, which we're pulling. I don't know, where'd we put that?
Yes, Mayor, if we could go over 3K now, and then followed by the walk-on item after.
All right.
Mayor, can I read the title of the resolutions?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Let's see. Okay, approving and authorizing purchase of 4 2023 police vehicles and equipment budget for fiscal year 2024. Madam Clerk, can you read the title of the ordinance into the record, please?
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, approving and authorizing the purchase of 4 2023 Ford Police Interceptors utility vehicles, together with emergency lighting equipment and radio equipment for the police vehicles, waiving competitive bidding for the police vehicles pursuant to Section 3-12 of the Town Code, finding that the purchase of the emergency lighting equipment and radio equipment are exempt from competitive bidding pursuant to Section 3-13, subsection 3 of the Town Code, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date. Item 3K.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'll provide some information for this item since we did pull it, as well as the reason why we pulled it after, with the request that we're seeking to revise this resolution with. The item is in standard with what we do, which is replenish certain vehicles past their salvage life. We've obtained a quote from the Georgia Sheriff's bid consistent to what happened last month with our purchase. Florida Sheriff's bid, the awardee for the Southeast region, does not have enough vehicles. It cannot fulfill the orders through the Florida Sheriff's bid. Therefore, we found the Georgia Sheriff's bid contract at a company that honors the rate of the Florida Sheriff's bid. So there is no financial impact other than those budgeted. That is what this item is, and we're seeking to expend the funds for. What we want to do additionally with this item, which was not included, but I am walking on as a revision, I did provide a copy of the document to the clerk, which is available, and I did circulate a copy to all the elected officials. We're seeking to call out 10 vehicles currently that we have. The date back is 2012 as surplus vehicles. Usually right now, currently we use them as part of our D-Corp program. It's some of those more aged vehicles. When we declare them surplus, and it gives us the option now to remove them from our fleet so that we could go ahead and sell them off. Typically they're sold off through auctioning. We're just seeking to sell off. So if you could give us the authorization to declare these surplus, we will be able to then sell off these vehicles off our fleet, and we will be able to retain those funds to replenish the municipal equipment fleet fund. So that is a request of why we pulled it. That's what I'm seeking for you to accept as the item presented, with the item presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion on the table
Motion to approve?
as amended?
Yes.
Second as amended.
All right. Just for the record, there's no public comment on this item. Public comment. Moving on to commission discussion. Commissioner Velasquez.
Yes, just to confirm, Hector, so I understood. So you want is to add the sale of these vehicles to this item 3K, correct?
That is correct. The two steps.
Purchase for new vehicles.
2 steps. Declare them a surplus, which then authorizes us to then sell them. So that's what we're seeking.
Okay, and then
to-
you also want to purchase, this is to purchase 4 new vehicles.
Correct, which is consistent with the vehicles previously ordered, and you notice 10 is what we're declaring surplus, which we have additional.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Lansman,
Yes.
Commissioner Velasquez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danziger,
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, you have a new item. I don't have a title or a resolution. Is it amendment number 1?
Through the mayor, yes, that's correct. It's an amendment to Budget Amendment 1 that was requested the previous commission meeting. And I could, there was a clerical error, not the clerk's fault. So there was a clerical error that I'm seeking to correct in this so that wherefore we could execute this resolution. When you're ready, I can provide the information.
Madam Clerk, you want to read the title of the resolution into the record, please?
Yes, Mayor. A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, amending resolution number 2023-3211 relating to approving budget amendment number 1 for the fiscal year 2024 to correct the scrivener's error, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date. Walk-on item.
Thank you. This item was not on the agenda, so I will open up the public comment at this time. Seeing none, we will close public comment. Mr. Manager, if you want to give a little more details.
Thank you very much, and I'm looking to provide you all the information you need. When we presented this item last month, it was budget amendment number 1, and it was supposed to cover 2 things. One of them was the authorization for design services with Kimley Horn, and the second was a change order for 96th Street Park. The budget amendment sheet, attachment A itself, presented those 2 and was correct. The clerical error was in the actual resolution, which only tabulated for one of the 2. So it read approximately, and this is approximate 1.2 to 1.3 when it should have been a 1.7 number. So we can't just go ahead and change that and then sign it off. So we seek it, we bring it forth to you so we acknowledge what the error was and we're seeking to correct it, and that is it. The attachment was correct. It was just the way it was written in the resolution that had that minor error that we just didn't cross-check it with the attachment name. That is it. That is it. If you have any more questions, I can provide.
Thank you. Can we get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Madam Clerk, you want to call the roll?
Commissioner Lansman,
Yes.
Commissioner Velasquez,
I'm sorry, can you repeat what we're approving here?
Through the mayor, we're approving the resolution as provided to you, which takes into account the additional expenditures for the 96th Street Park change order, which was authorized by the commission last month. It wasn't. So what we did is we left the previous resolution intact with the 1.3, and this one only brings forth the change order for 96th Street Park, which is consistent with how the change order was approved last month, and it's consistent how this budget amendment was presented last month as an attachment. Just the resolution document itself did not include that second part, which this as a standalone does.
Commissioner, we have a motion on the table.
Okay.
We're in the middle of roll call.
Commissioner Velasquez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danziger,
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to a new item that was put in the investigation currently ongoing pertaining to Commissioner Velasquez. We have 2 formal complaints which are being investigated by a third party, which was approved by the commission at the last meeting. I know there was investigations ongoing. It is my understanding that this item has stalled due to Commissioner Velasquez canceling 3 of her interviews.
Truth in government, Mayor. Remember that. It hasn't been 3.
Commissioner, please don't interrupt.
No, well then tell the truth to residents.
So there are, it is my understanding that 3 times the commissioner has not responded. We need to know, first of all, we are worried about liability for the town. We have 2 formal complaints about harassment and abuse of an elected official. It is our intention, as per the last meeting, to get this thing going. I need to know what the next steps are, I think. Commissioner, would you like to talk? Why are you talking?
Microphone.
Yes.
Oh, is that what we voted for? So the mayor can mute
Commissioner, are you going to keep interrupting?
Wow. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Through the mayor, you during our briefing, you had requested the status of this investigation. Therefore, I provided you some information. The investigation is almost complete. All parties have been interviewed except for one. We're currently scheduling that last interview. That's all I have right now, unless you have any additional questions.
All right, so at what point do we conclude this investigation and move on?
Through the mayor, the processes, the handbook, the procedure brought forth for you to approve investigation. The investigation that you have requested is ongoing. If you seek to make any request towards the investigation, it's the will of this commission. But ultimately, we are in the process of scheduling the last meeting. I would allow for that attempt. I will at least allow for that attempt to occur.
What's the rush?
Right. Okay, so the rush is if we don't conclude this investigation, we are holding the town liable for a lawsuit.
No,
if
we're
we don't
not.
React
Stop
to
lying to
formal
people.
complaints
Stop lying to residents.
by employees.
Stop lying to
Point of
residents.
order. We're at 23 interruptions already.
Fine. Stop
Can you
lying to
please let the
residents.
meeting go? I've been counting. We're
Well,
at
stop
23
lying to
interruptions.
residents.
24.
Stop
All right.
lying to residents.
Which part of this is a lie, Commissioner?
Like that we're going to get sued and sued. You're constantly saying to people like, all we're going to do is get sued. Oh, we can't do a policy with zoning. Oh, we're going to get sued. Oh, we can't do this. Oh, we're going to get sued. Stop.
So your argument
This
is that
your
if a
political campaign from
two
the
employees of the
dais,
town of Surfside
your-
file formal complaints
Yeah,
against you
formal
because you're
complaints that are
creating
lies.
a hostile work
Okay.
environment and
What
harassment,
hostile work
it must be
environment?
responded to, Commissioner. I would ask that you
I-
take this
what
seriously
hostile work
and
environment?
respond to the
Again,
investigator
Mr. Mayor,
and cooperate
truth
with
in
the
government.
investigation.
You're out there lying to residents.
Right.
You should feel ashamed of that,
I
especially all
didn't.
the
I'm not the
lying
one that
you
went
did
after
during the
town staff,
campaign.
Commissioner.
During the
Mrs. Salzauer,
campaign,
2
lying
minutes.
excessively to residents.
Eliana Salzhauer, 9317 Bay Drive. Man, this commission has nothing on us. This is unbelievable. Why don't we bring back the stockade? Let's just make a motion to bring back the stockade, and we can shame people and put them out front in front of town hall, and we'll just throw tomatoes at them, because this is the level that you guys have degraded to. You basically put an item on the ballot asking residents, do you want to throw Nelly out? And you got your response, and it was an overwhelmingly, no, leave her alone. HR matters should be handled by HR. They don't get discussed up here at the commission. We had a number of HR problems under my commission, some involving employees that had to leave and other employees that came back. So that needs to be handled by HR, not addressed up here. You want to air out your dirty laundry. One of the complaints was absolutely ludicrous, was basically because the mayor, I guess, was embarrassed that he had made that Hispanic comment and was publicly shamed in the media.
Well, Mrs. Salzauer, I'm going to interrupt you.
Commissioner
Mrs.
Velasquez.
Salzauer, listen
What?
to me.
Oh, what, sir?
The content of the
Yes,
complaints
yes.
are not to be discussed publicly.
Oh.
So I don't know how you understood or got the information, but please
Because
refrain
it happened
from
at a
stating
meeting.
the contents of the information.
Okay, so it wasn't a confidential, okay, it was at the meeting.
It's
It happened-
confidential.
it
As a
happened
former
on
elected
camera.
official, you should understand.
It happened on camera where she said people should use the gym and we all need to lose some weight. And so the police chief was trying to curry favor with you and said, I'm going to file a complaint. She called me fat. Everyone was here for it. It was on camera. It wasn't something that happened in secret off the record. We all saw the whole fight with the clerks and everything going on in the back room.
Mrs.
We all
Salzauer, the
saw it.
content of the complaint
It's secrets.
is meant not to be discussed publicly.
Okay, so then don't discuss it publicly. Leave this to HR to sort out. Why did you put it on the agenda? What are you putting it
The
on the
only
agenda
one that
for?
can discuss it,
Okay.
not the rest
Don't
of
put
us.
this on the agenda if it's not to be discussed in public. Have it handled by HR like professional organizations do. It's not discussed at CEOs meetings, at board meetings where they talk about the inner workings of the government. Have that handled by your HR people unless you don't have confidence in your HR staff to handle it appropriately.
Thank you, Mrs. Salzauer. Our HR works underneath the town commission. It is not
No, it doesn't.
appropriate
It works underneath the
for
town
look
manager.
at the town.
Town
at the-
manager.
Commissioner, I'm
Not
not
the
going to
town-
argue with you. This was discussed
I
last
guess
month.
you should look at the
We already
charter.
voted
The
that it's-
charter where it says what your position is in this, with the.
We already voted that this has to be handled through a third-party investigation. That is not part of the discussion here tonight. The idea was to please cooperate with this investigation. Commissioner Velasquez, please be responsive to the investigation. We're going to move on from this item. Moving on to second reading, 4A1, ordinance amendment citizen presentation rules. Mr. Manager, actually, Madam Clerk, if you'll read the title of the ordinance into the record, please.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, amending the Town of Surfside Code of Ordinances by amending Section 2-206, Public Participation relating to citizens' presentations, providing for servability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Item 4A1.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, opening it to you.
Through the mayor, I'll provide this really quick. The item was read first reading. There was an additional add-on to this item that could be found on page 454. And what it does is that, and I'll read the sentence and then I'll call out what was added. Additional citizens' presentations by the same citizen within the calendar year shall require and then added written sponsorship removed and approval, and then continues by 3 or more members of the town commission. What was removed from first to second at a regular meeting, then what was added by the agenda deadline to place the citizen on the official agenda for a regular meeting. Everything else remains consistent with how it was provided for first reading. I turn it over for you for discussion.
I'd like to speak.
You're not recognized right now. Can we get a motion on the table, please?
Motion
I'd
to
like
approve.
speak.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Opening up to public comment. Mr. Vildastegui. 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, so Gerardo Vildostegui, 9148 Froud Avenue. I wasn't here for the first reading of this ordinance last month, and I wanted to be sure to address it. Free speech is extremely important to me, and I've said on several occasions, I think we have an emergency with civil liberties in this town. I say that every time, and I mean it every time. With this particular ordinance, it might look very minor because actually we don't have very many citizens' presentations. As by my count, I think there have only been 3 under the current administration. There were 2 by former Mayor Burkett and 1 by Mr. Forbes. The fact that there are so few suggests to me that there isn't really any problem with them taking up time. What I'm really worried about with this ordinance is that it seems to be done in retaliation. Specifically for the 2 presentations by Mr. Burkett. In addition to the freedom of speech, one of the most important freedoms in the First Amendment is the right to petition the government to redress grievances. And Mr. Burkett in his 2 presentations addressed some of the most important things that a citizen can bring before a government. In his first presentation, he talked about the forced resignations that happened in December, particularly of Andrew Hyatt. And he raised serious concerns of criminal violations of the government in the Sunshine Law by the mayor and members of the commission. That's extremely important stuff, and it was a credible argument that he made. I won't rehearse the details. It is imperative that citizens be able to make critiques like that of their government. This is not petty stuff. This is not politicking. This gets to the heart of the reason why we have freedom of speech is when you think your government officials may have broken the law, you have to be able to say it. The second time Mayor Burkett spoke, he spoke in defense of freedom of speech itself. He had been thrown out of the meeting, and it was his opinion, it's also mine, that the town attorney gave an incredibly bad argument that allowed him to be thrown out that day. Again, this speaks to the essence of freedom of speech, to criticize the circumstances under which people are forcibly thrown out of meetings. It doesn't get more important than that. And I don't see a problem with these presentations. They are what we need to protect our rights.
Excuse me, these
Thank you, Mr.
should be 3
Valdestegui.
minutes. The card.
Mrs. Salzauer.
Why are you resident 2 minutes speak? You think that by muting the
Eliana Salzhar, 9317 Bay Drive. This will be the stone that sinks you, and I encourage you to vote for this because nothing is going to upset residents more than being told that they are not welcome in town hall, and that's what you've done. You have 473 residents, 473 voters that would blindly follow you even if you told them to drink cyanide. The rest of the residents are wide awake. The rest of the residents voted extremely in strong pouring, a show of numbers, double, okay? They are not on board with these restrictions. Residents' right to participate in their local government is one of the founding reasons of this government, of the United States, one of our core freedoms. And we will not stand for having them abridged by anyone, a mayor, a dictator, anyone. It's not okay. This being done in retaliation, whatever Mr. Burkett did, it doesn't matter. Other people have given presentations before, and they should have the right to give a presentation. If a commissioner sponsors a citizen's presentation, they should have the right to do it. Having it be that you can only do it again if you have 3 votes is ridiculous, because if you had 3 votes, you wouldn't need to give a presentation. The vote would be going their way. If you have 3 votes, you would agree on whatever it is. Why would you waste your time with a presentation if it's all going well? This exists specifically because you may have an opinion, you may have information or expertise that needs to be heard, and you have one commissioner willing to sponsor it. This is you slamming the door on residents in Town Hall. And mark my words, in March, residents are taking back Town Hall. We will be here, they will come to the polls, and they belong in the process. We belong in the process. I belong in the process. My neighbors belong in the process. What doesn't belong in the process are autocrats and dictators. And you will be shown the door in March. So if you vote on this tonight, you're only sealing your own fate. Go for it.
Thank you, Mrs. Salzauer. Moving on to commission discussion. Can we get a motion on the table?
There's a motion.
A motion? All right. Any comments?
For as many times as several members of our community suggest that they're not able to address the commission and share their thoughts, for some reason, I believe they come regularly and share their thoughts and share their information with the committee. I seemingly can't get their voices out of my head because they're here. This is not an infringement on anyone's First Amendment rights to speak. You have so many opportunities as a community to speak to us. And this is simply a tool that has sometimes been abused, and it's a way to correct that so that any resident, any citizen can come and do a presentation. That's not changing. What's changing is simply if they want to do multiple presentations in a calendar year, they've got to have more sponsorship than just one commissioner. So it's not used to campaign. It's not used to campaign under the guise of our town hall and our commission chambers. Everyone has the opportunity, as you've shared already with us today, to speak to us on many, many occasions on every item. So we appreciate the input. We listen. I listen. And that's not changing.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Velasquez?
Well, Fred, you've said many times, you listen, but you don't agree. So I guess this is one of those that you're going to continue to go with, trying to cancel residents' voice on this. And I don't see a problem when it's happened twice in one calendar year. And both situations were completely different from each other. But because he's not your friend, I guess that makes it a problem for you. And then to call it that someone's campaigning, a resident is campaigning from the podium is really despicable. Because residents should have the right, any citizen should have the right to come up and be able to speak and give a citizen's presentation that they have more than 3 minutes. Because as you can see tonight, residents are getting silenced because in our blue card, it says that we're allowed to speak 3 minutes. The mayor has chosen here to give residents to speak only 2 minutes. And it's clearly right there on the thing. And it's on the blue slip that we sign every time that a resident comes into this meeting to speak. So to continue to deprive freedom of speech is really, I mean, you should feel ashamed of yourself for even voting for this. And I would implore you to actually dismiss this ordinance and just not even talk about this again. But I know that your heart is with your your 2 other commissioners, and you're not going to do what's right for our town. But elections are coming soon, and residents will have the opportunity to voice their vote and make it loud and clear. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you for your campaign speech. This is actually a good thing that we're doing. We're putting rules in place. I think we all here are for First Amendment rights and freedom of speech. Nobody's canceling anybody's speech. The former elected officials has already spoken 5 times. You are allowed to speak as many times as you want on every item, which we've seen. You can go to the news and say we're trying to limit your speech to 1 time per year. We all know that's not true. We are trying to put rules in place, as there was a loophole in our zoning, in our code. There was no rules on what the subject could be or any matter or anything like that. And if you want to speak for the record, The former mayor did come up here and give a presentation twice and did show his campaign website twice. So that is just a matter of fact. He was campaigning from the dais, which is inappropriate for anyone. So I support this item as we were putting rules and some clearly defined boundaries set in place.
Thank you. Just to address one of the comments the commissioner is not aware of, this blue card specifically pertains to good and welfare, and it says up to 3 minutes. Good and welfare is 3 minutes, and it says up to 3 minutes. It doesn't give anybody the right to anything. Again, I find it ironic. Commissioner, please stop interrupting. Nobody. I find it ironic because people keep getting up here to speak about how we're stopping First Amendment rights and nobody can speak, and yet they get up on every item to speak. Nobody is here stopping that. And yet they get up here and keep worried about free speech. This item, unfortunately, the citizen presentation, which, as was mentioned, has never been taken advantage of before until a certain somebody found a loophole and decided to use it for a political avenue. This was something that was ruined, and currently it allows one commissioner, one single commissioner who may be disgruntled and not aware of anything else to bring up somebody and keep talking week after week and waste our town's business. So this would put guidelines in place, would require after one time more than one commissioner to approve it. So if you want to do a citizen presentation more than once a year, you just need 2 other commissioners to sponsor that item and you can come speak to your heart's content. But what it is meant to do is to limit what is the abuse that we've seen happen with this item. So I fully support it. Madam Clerk, let's call the roll on this item, please.
Commissioner Velasquez?
Thank you. No.
Commissioner Landsman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danziger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4A2, amending section 14-28, issuance of building permits and amending section 62-1, garage sales to simplify town permitting requirements for non-essential permits. Madam Clerk, if you'll read the title of the ordinance into the record, please.
An ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, amending the Town of Surfside Code of Ordinances by amending section 14-28, issuance of building permits, and section 62-1, garage sales, to simplify and revise the town's non-critical permitting requirements, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Item 4A2.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, you want to introduce the item and then we'll get a motion on the table.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Straightforward to how it was presented to you as a first reading item. The only changes to it, actually there is no changes. We were asked to look at verbiage to how you can incorporate roofs as a component. So we worked together, and in the agenda, we created the criteria for how to incorporate roofs. I'll turn it over to the town attorney as we could provide some language of how it can be incorporated into a second reading. Everything else is consistent to how it was provided for first reading. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Madam Attorney.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So the language that was added regarding the roof repairs begins on line 38. And I believe you all have a copy of the proposed language, and it reads, "No permit shall be required for roof maintenance or repairs where one, the work is valued at less than $500, 2, the work is of a maximum size of 50 square feet or is less than 20 linear feet of fascia board and soffit as applicable, and 3, the work is pre-authorized by the building official." Again, that's lines 38 through 41. That's the addition.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. If we get a motion to approve as is with the additions as presented by the town administration.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. So this is an item I brought forward. Again, there were some silly, requirements for permitting for garage sales. I don't think that is indicative of a nice community. What this does, it allows somebody to go up to 2 a year and then would require a permit. I don't even think we charge for it, but I think it's a matter of keeping track to ensure that somebody is not just opening up a business in front of their house week after week. The other item was, I know some roof repair, if somebody has a leak or whatever, some minor roof repair. I know Jim had spoke about 100 square feet. We brought that down to 50, and the idea is that is essentially what should be within the $500 mark. Again, just to clarify, if you have something like this, please email our building official who still has to kind of approve and ensure that this fits that requirement, and then somebody can hopefully fix their house. And the idea is that people won't be required to hire professionals, pull out major permitting, and spend a lot of money just to fix a minor leak. So I'm glad that this is coming forward. If there's no other discussion, we can call the vote on this item.
Commissioner Lansman,
Yes.
Commissioner Velasquez,
This is the permit. Oh, yes, yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danziger,
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to 483, amending Chapter 72 of the Town Code to address utilities lines undergrounding for future communication improvements. Madam Clerk, if you'll read the title of the ordinance into the record, please.
An ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, amending the Town of Surfside Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 72 Telecommunications, Section 72-28 Definitions, Section 72-31 Placement of Maintenance of a Communications Facility in Public Right-of-Ways, and Section 72-35 Existing Communications Facilities in Public Right-of-Ways to require undergrounding of all new communication lines within the town's boundaries, providing for severability, providing for conflicts in the code, inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager, I'll turn it over to you for an introduction, and we'll get a motion on the table.
Thank you very much, Mayor. The item is consistent to how it was provided for first reading, no changes. We've incorporated the Florida statute required business impact estimate form along with this ordinance. Turn it over for you if you have any questions for us. Thank you very much.
All right, just to clarify to the residents watching at home and the few that are here, this item, as we move forward with the undergrounding project, what was omitted by the previous commission when they pushed this project forward was to lock in that utilities should be required to go underground after we move forward. If we were, as it stood, to move forward with undergrounding, any new utilities provider can come in, put up a pole as per their right in the state of Florida, and we would have done this entire project for nothing. What this is going to do is going to move forward any other utility providers that want to move into the residential side of Surfside or into Surfside will have to go underground. Do we have a motion on the table yet? We had a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's call the roll.
Mayor, did you open public hearing?
I have no public comment. For the record, there's no public comment.
I'm sorry? Your vote, yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Lansman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danziger,
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4A4, update to water shortage regulations section of the town code to be consistent with Miami-Dade County and South Florida Water Management District. Madam Clerk, if you read the title of the ordinance into the record, please.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, amending Article 6, Water Shortage Regulation of Chapter 78 Utilities of the Town Code of Ordinances to incorporate applicable Miami-Dade County permanent year-round landscape irrigation restrictions and provide for enforcement by the town, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Item 4A4.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager, I'll turn it over to you for an introduction, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor. The item is consistent with how it was provided for first reading. There's a declaration of a year-round water shortage, which allows us to implement our code as a whole as it's meant for water shortages, period. It's consistent with what the county is mandating us to do. We are advising the county that we will be doing enforcement at a local level, and everything else remains as is. The big change from first to second reading was the violations. I believe the statement of this commission was do not penalize our residents. So what we made is a first violation as a written warning, second and subsequent violations, just $25. If you have any questions, we are here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can we get a motion on the table, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, just again to break it down simply, Miami-Dade County has these water ordinances. We can either allow them to enforce it or we do it ourselves. We took this upon ourselves to enforce. What we did is we changed from the county, from their high fees, to institute a warning the first time and a $25 subsequent after that for any violations. This way we don't burden the residents with these very high fees that were set by the county. Opening up with for the record, there is no public comment. Opening up for discussion, or we can call the roll on this item. No. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Velasquez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lansman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danziger,
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item 485, creation of new capital improvement projects chapter within the town code. Madam Clerk, if you read the title of the ordinance into the record, please.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances by adopting Chapter 73, Capital Improvement Projects, providing for a definition of town capital improvement projects and establishing the method for planning, budgeting, and implementing such projects, and providing for severability, conflicts, codification, and an effective date. Item 485.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager, if you'll introduce the item, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor. The item is consistent to how it was provided for first reading. It allows us to create the Capital Improvement Projects Department, and within it have a Capital Improvement Projects Director in order to assist the town with various capital improvement projects that we are either undertaking or will undertake. Highlight a few of those projects. The Utilities Undergrounding Project is probably one of the more substantial one. Abbott Avenue Drainage Improvement is another one, and currently the 96th Street Park Project as well are current projects that we're undertaking under the Capital Improvement Project Plan. I'll turn it over to you, Mayor, and the Commission, if you have any questions for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Can we get a motion on the table, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Again, this new capital improvements project manager is set to save our town. I think we've spent like $1.something million in the last year and a half just on project management. This will save our town considerably a lot amount of money. We have public comment on this. Mrs. Salzauer, 2 minutes, please.
Eliana Salzhauer, 9317 Bay Drive. This is another example of bloat. This town hall it's like you guys came and inflated it, the amount of staff that's been added. In departments, people are now supervising other people to supervise other people to outsource things. And we had this issue with when you have a capital improvement project manager, because I actually, one of the ideas that I had ages ago was to get a sourcing person, right? That's going to save us money. And there were all these arguments that we couldn't do that because one sourcing person is not going to be an expert at everything. You're going to have the same problem here. Not one person is going to be able to handle all of this. And so all you're doing is creating another staffing position, another paycheck, another, mouth to feed sort of for the long term, who's going to wind up outsourcing half of the stuff anyway. And that's going to be, again, the residents are sort of left with this bloated budget annual that keeps growing and growing and growing. You guys just had it. It's insane. I mean, it's out of control. This is happening across the board in every department. And residents' quality of life is not improving along with it. But I guess the going is good here. Everyone's gotten raises recently. We're handing out gift cards for people doing their job. It's really wonderful. Times are good. So thank you for being so generous with our taxpayer money without consulting residents. And now that we can't give presentations, I guess you won't know what mistakes you're making. Thanks.
Okay, Mrs. Salzar, I'm sure we'll be hearing about it every month with you. Closing public comment. Moving on to commission discussion. Any comments? Commissioner Velasquez?
Yes, I have a question. Is there a salary for this position in this resolution?
Mr. Manager?
Through the mayor, yes. There was a proposed salary that was submitted with the fiscal year 2024 budget, which was adopted, which is what our target range is going to be for the recruitment of this position.
But shouldn't that number be inside this ordinance?
If I can handle that, the budget for this officer was already approved during the budget cycle. This is an ordinance to create it within the town charter. The position doesn't exist right now. The actual position salary was already approved by the commission. This is going to approve the addition of this new department within our town charter.
What salary is that?
Again, it was discussed during the budget cycle, but I don't know.
Okay, I'd like to get that question answered, please.
Through the mayor, I believe the position is advertised at the classification class. I don't recall exactly. We could provide, but it's between 120 to 140 or 145 approximately, which is at the same realm of a director level, which is what we're seeking to hire, a director level position.
Thank you.
All right. Again, we already currently pay for project supervision. We have paid a lot of money towards companies. This will bring this project in-house. Just to address the comment, yes, the town's budget keeps growing. The services keep growing to our residents. The revenue to the town keeps growing. That is how a town grows and flourishes. That is part of the process. Madam Clerk, sorry, Mr. Vice Mayor.
I don't know if Mr. Landsman, the only thing I just wanted to say, sorry, Mr. Landsman, is, I spoke with Hector about this, our town manager, extensively, and just if you could give one example of the park, what the park is roughly costing us to do, and what somebody like in this position, the benefit trade-offs, residents can actually understand the savings, and especially over the long run when they're doing multiple projects, which a lot of it is actually falling on Mr. Randy over there, who does wear a lot of hats, but we do need an actual person to help us run these projects and save us in town. So if you could just give an example, just one of the park.
Through the mayor, if I may, I do want to add something. Currently, capital improvement projects is a sub-department within Public Works. As things are going right now with the county, Durham, the state, regulatory compliance is becoming a big task within Public Works. We are also substantially growing with capital improvement projects. The weight of a capital improvement project as is currently written, and we have it, it's not sustainable within Public Works. We need to add that extra department to undertake these projects. You asked me to provide an example regarding 96th Street Park. We authorize this level of services as owner's rep, if you will, but ultimately a representative project manager for the project at $124,000. Then I requested an additional expenditure for that position for $80,000. So if you look at it, that's $200,000 just within that project alone that we've exhausted in this service in less than a year. I want to add to that the value of this. The previous commission, through the previous, and sorry to add to this, but I think it's an important note of just an example of what the services that can be provided. I requested a change order for $269,000 for the project, for the park. I also told the commission that I'm still negotiating that change order. This was last month. We still haven't paid out that change order. I know even though we sought the ratification for a clerical error, we still haven't paid it out because we're still negotiating. Currently, we have that change order down to $130,000. So in 1 month, we've been able to negotiate $30,000. That is through efforts, through reviewing all the change orders, all the backup documents, to see where you can negotiate change orders. That currently right now can't be done between Public Works and myself, which is currently where it's parked. Will we continue to do it? Absolutely. But for sustainability of what we're doing and providing long-term efficiencies within our budget, this is something that I'm bringing forth to you that I'm recommending. And I do appreciate you endorsing this item and obviously bringing it to the point where it's at. I do believe it will serve the town properly, both financially as well as quality. So again, I want to thank you. I hope that answers your question. And if you have any other questions, I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Commissioner Landsman.
Just a short comment. It's unfortunate we have, in this case, one resident here who speaks on every item as if the sky is falling, as if the end of the earth is about to happen maybe midnight tonight. This is an effort to save the town money, to save tax revenues, to put funds in-house where we have more control and not have it be spent with these consultants and these contracts outside of the town government. So I thank you, Mr. Manager, for bringing this to our attention, for trying and working to save the town revenues. And the hyperbole is just off the charts. I think we have enormous numbers of our residents who appreciate the work that we're doing and we appreciate the work that the manager is doing to save our very important tax dollars and do the right thing to run our town. So thank you very much, Mr. Manager.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Madam Clerk, let's call the roll on this, please.
Commissioner Landsman?
Yes.
Commissioner Velasquez?
Yes, I think this is a good thing for the town.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danziger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to first reading 4B1, Code Amendments of the Outdoor Lighting in a Single Family Residential District. Madam Clerk, if you read the title of the ordinance into the record, please.
Ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, amending the Town of Surfside Code of Ordinances by amending Section 90-62 outdoor lighting to provide outdoor lighting regulations for single-family residential dwellings, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Item 4B1.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. If you'll introduce the item.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This was a result of a discussion item brought to you approximately 2 months ago, and it resulted in in code proposal, which we're providing to you through first reading, which is how can we what can we add to our current code to address residential lighting within the residential area, and therefore we've provided to you this ordinance. It starts at page 497. I'll touch base on a few items, if you will, Mayor, or I could touch base on after once you open it for discussion. Thank you. So I'll give you the outline of how we were able to shape this ordinance. Ultimately, the structure of it was incorporated as a discussion item by Commissioner Maishad, but we as a town went ahead, reviewed it, and we made some changes that we felt applicable. Real quick, all lighting other than landscape. So we will regulate landscape lighting in another section. So A is all other lighting than landscape lighting, which is to be provided as a submittal before the project starts as part of the electrical plans. And the main things we seek to regulate or see is that any continuous lighting requires, and by continuous is a light fixture that's turned on the entire night. Continuous lighting requires shielding to direct light down. The maximum lumens is 450 lumens per fixture. The minimum spacing between each fixture is 20 feet. If it's not continuous and it's motion sensor, one of those safety lighting, it must be on an interval of 15 minutes. May only be located attached to the home and illuminated at a front yard or secondary frontage or rear yard. The maximum lumens, since it's for safety, is a little bit more of an intensity. It's 110 lumens, equivalent to 75 watts. And the maximum amount of fixtures per property is 2. Outdoor lighting shall be designed so that the overspill of lighting onto adjacent properties shall not exceed 1/2 foot candle vertical and 1/2 foot candle horizontal illumination on the adjacent property. That was a carryover from the original, from the discussion. Outdoor lighting fixtures above 10 feet shall be shielded or employ shielded fixtures so that the light source are not visible from adjacent properties or the right of way. D is an indoor lighting installation should not be placed in permanent use until a letter of compliance from a registered architect or engineer is provided to the town manager or designee, certifying the installation has been field checked and meets the requirements set forth. So they will be certifying that the conditions of A are met. The town manager or designee may issue a permit for the proposed outdoor lighting if, after review of the plans and after consideration of the design characteristics of the lighting fixtures and lighting poles and bases, they found it to be harmony with the site architectural design, the adjacent area, and the neighborhood, and will be deflected, shaded, and focused away from the adjacent properties and will not be of nuisance to adjacent properties and traffic. F is a generic. It has to abide to the Florida Building Code. G, all exterior lighting on single-family duplexes properties in the H30A, H30B, and H30C zoning district shall be individual fixtures. Permanent stripe lighting is prohibited outdoors, including balconies, architectural features. That's continuous lighting in a strip. 2 more items incorporated. Low voltage or solar landscaping up lighting is permitted at a maximum strength of 600 lumens or 600 watts per fixture, provided the fixture is no higher than 3 feet high from the grade. So we're dictating how high landscape lighting can be and a certain amount of lumens that there would be required to be. Lastly, temporary holiday lighting is exempt from permitting requirements. Mayor, if you have any questions, staff is here to assist. Turn it back over to you, and thank you.
Thank you. Can we get a motion on the table?
Motion to approve. I do have a lot of comments.
I got a lot of comments too.
Second.
All right. Opening up to public comments. Mrs. Salzauer, 2 minutes, please.
Atlanta Salzhauer, 9317 Bay Drive. Sorry to be bothering you with my comments on every item. I know that must really be a pain in the butt to have to listen to residents.
Mrs. Salzauer, please stick to the item on the agenda.
I am. I'm apologizing for using your time. So thank you for giving me this minute and 40 seconds left. Thank you to Commissioner Maishad, who's not here tonight, for bringing this forward. It's a shame that all the horses have sort of been let out of the barn already. There are a number of houses in the residential section that are really lighting up the whole block. And not that they don't look beautiful, but it really should have been addressed beforehand. My question is, in this code change, what are we going to do about the current overlit, Rockefeller Center Christmas tree that we've got going on right now with some of the houses? in the residential section. So is there anything in, I didn't see anything in here that is going to help us maybe dial down or direct that lighting? Something that can be added on. It was actually, Rose Construction is the company that put those lights into the house. And so maybe Rose Construction has a solution to dial down that lighting. I know there's a couple more houses coming out that already have that built in as well. So I think that we need some area of this code also needs to address the current situation for the neighbors, for the neighborhood in general. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much for this time.
Please have a seat. Thank you. All right, closing public comment, turning it back to the commission for discussion. Who would like to start on this item? I can start. You don't have to.
It's okay. I have some questions, I suppose. This does seem maybe a bit overbearing, perhaps, maybe too many pieces to look at. And I'm curious, Mr. Manager, does our code department know how to evaluate this? If they see a house, are they going to be able to determine the lumens and the timing, et cetera? Is this something that actually can be enforced by our code department?
Can we enforce one candle? I mean, to add on that one candle, what is it? 1/2 foot candle and another 1/2 foot candle. Are we equipped to measure these things?
Through the mayor, if I may, it's included. It was part of the original template that we use as a formwork. The reason we incorporated item A was because it's not easy to measure. Truthfully, is we don't have any instruments to measure. I know there's apps and different photography tools that can be used, but lastly, in order to truly get a true measurement, you need to remove any conflicts which may be caused by other lights. In this case, street lighting as well as adjacent properties. So to get a true measurement, it's really hard. It puts us in a position where we don't want to be measuring. So what we did is we created A. A sets a standard for the amount of lumens. Lumens and watts could be interchanged, so you could go ahead and buy fixtures based on that criteria. We created a spacing requirements. So this is the pre. This is what the standard is. And as a post, you're required to submit a letter certifying that it was installed to the code. That way, because this will be enforced through code compliance as well as our planning department. So it gives mainly the planning department the tools to see the submittal and also close the submittal by a letter certifying that it was installed to code. B, it's really hard to explain for the reasons I said, just because of all the external influences and taking a true measurement. So that's why we incorporated A.
All right. Any comments?
Oh, not yet.
Not yet.
I'm just listening to what you guys are saying.
All right.
And I know that
Let's
Rose
move on
has
if you don't
a
have
lot of,
comments. Mr.
comments.
Vice Mayor?
So I do have a lot of comments.
Expert on that.
First of all, Rose Construction is my company, but truth doesn't really matter to the former commissioner what the correct name is. So my first issue is Commissioner Maishai's not here, so I would have liked her here to be part of this discussion. I know this was her item, so I just may be against it for that because she's not here. But I do have other comments in the sense that the max lumens, 450 per fixture, I think is a problem because you start purchasing things from just regular Home Depot, regular residents. It's not going to meet that max spacing every 20 feet. On a front of a house, that would mean you'd have only 2 lights, which is way too low. The fact that it's above 10 feet is a problem because I've heard from neighbors and there's not an issue in the front. They find more of an issue on the sides of the homes when they're doing putting hi-hats on the sides because it's shining into their neighbor's lights, whether it's a 1 or 2 story home. That is becoming very popular to add that for protection and security. But whether you're up in the air at 1 story or 2 stories, it doesn't make a difference. So I have a problem with that. Strip lighting, don't see an issue with because strip lighting could actually be usually controlled and there's a lower lumen and lower. Low voltage, the fact that it sounds good, the landscape, but we're actually going to be discussing an item about 3 feet high from grade, and if people their neighbors raise their grade, that could actually be a problem because we could be shining over somebody's fence. So I think there's just a few items with this that still need to be tweaked and fixed. I wish Commissioner Maishai was here to discuss it, but like I said, the details of it aren't 100%. I think it's a good idea and a step in the right direction. I think we do need to have some sort of lighting plan in place, but this as written, I just find issues with. So That's just my 2 cents.
So what's your
All right.
suggestion?
So, if you don't mind. So I agreed when this first came up as a discussion, just to kind of move it forward and see what would be presented here. What I'm seeing, in my opinion, is definitely an overstep of government, but a lot of things that were not, thought through. And I'll go through a few of my comments over here. The maximum lumens, as the Vice Mayor said, 450 per fixture. That is about a 40-watt bulb. That is not strong at all. And again, our concern here is resident safety. The first step to resident safety is lighting around your house at night. Any police officer will tell you that. I don't know who came up with this number. Spacing, again, every 20 feet to have a minimum spacing is not enough space for the frontage of your house. Again, how do we measure this? A lot of the things here are candle footage. We're asking to put things in an ordinance that we can enforce or measure. The motion sensors, for example, the maximum lumen is 75 watt. I went to Home Depot to see what the average outdoor security lighting is, and that's from 120 to 150 watts. This thing gives you 75, and these things, remember, have 2 bulbs, so that would be, roughly 37 watts per bulb. So that is not enough for a security light, which turns itself off. The outdoor lighting fixtures above 10 feet shall be shielded and employed, and I get that. But there should be a maximum lumen where shielding is not required. So, for example, if somebody has a low-level LED, not necessarily D, for example, where somebody has to go for a registered architect and engineer to go ahead and submit the lighting plan, is thousands of dollars for residents, and I just think that's not fair for somebody who wants to install a security light in the corner of their house. And again, item G, string lighting, that is something that's become very popular with people in their yards, and that's not something I want to do. So to answer your question, Commissioner, I think this is a massive overreach by people that don't fully understand. A commissioner specifically that doesn't understand all of this. The only thing that I would touch that I think affects people is shielding on the lights. So we make sure, especially after a certain height, that people don't see it from the buildings. The neighbors don't have to see this bright thing. So over whatever it was, 10 feet or whatever, let there be shielding, and then the direction. So I would be in favor of approving directional to ensure that people's lights are not shining into other people's properties. If they want to put security lighting or front or back, whatever it is, that they can put that in their own property, not onto the neighboring property. And that's something that, again, is easily enforced. Both these things are easily for our code compliance to walk down if they get a complaint and see. But I mean, even over here, motion sensors can only be in the front and back. What about the side yard? I mean, these are for security. So I don't feel comfortable with a lot of the things in here. The only thing I would agree to is shielding of the lights over 10 feet and to enforce the direction of the lights. So ensure it's not aimed at neighboring properties.
Thank you. On this, I have no really major expertise on this, but I do agree with the shielding of the lights, because as we've seen many pictures of, especially the new houses, they're really bright and they disturb the neighbor, which has been there probably longer than, well, anyway. And my question here is this only for new projects, or is this going to be for existing properties that are already causing a problem? Because I think it should be inclusive of everyone in town, as this is already a situation. And it would be nice that neighbors are conscious of their other neighbors, and understand that we all come home to be in peace and not to have a beaming light going through your bedroom, because you want to have security. And maybe the town should also take a look at our street lights. There's areas where it's very dark. I think that this is something that we should task the town manager to do, to ensure that our town is properly lit. I mean, there's areas that are pitch black here that you can't see anyone. So that creates a need for homeowners to putting all these lights all over their house, which in turn disturbs the neighbors and causes an issue. So are we, again, doing this for existing and new properties, or is this just for new properties?
Through the mayor, the way it was put forth, it was provided as a template for us. We incorporated some more conservative efforts in it, and we let the commission decide on, based on policy, how to proceed. That's where we're at now. So it's fully turned over to you now. This is meant to capture things moving forward. There's no reactive enforcement or compliance incorporated into this document as presented.
Okay. I do agree with the mayor on what was the point, I think it was D, where you mentioned about the engineer and that. I mean, that's an extra cost for residents that I really don't agree on. I mean, I think this should be something simple, put a cover over the light or shielding, I'm sorry, and to prevent from the neighbors. I do agree that, I do think that this should be for existing houses and future houses. I don't think this should be only for future properties, as it's clear that it's already a problem that needs to be addressed.
Point of information. When you say existing, are you talking like a retrofit on a one-story remodel?
I don't know, whoever's causing the bright lights.
No, okay.
Or is it for a second floor, the main issue?
No, I'm asking if you, I'm
I'm not
only
sure.
asking.
Like I said, I'm not an expert in this and I don't pretend to be, but I think that there is an issue. So I'm just, is this for,
I mean,
I don't know. You
for
tell
me,
me.
it should have been all, but I have, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you're done. That wasn't recognized.
I think the commissioner brought up a good point when you said you're not an expert in this, and I'm not an expert in this.
I'm not either.
This ordinance is very specific. I mean, look at H. Low voltage for landscaping up to lighting is permitted as a maximum of 600 lumens, 60 watts per fixture. Who is going into people's backyards to measure their lights when they put a garden light in there? This is ridiculous. This is not the town I want to live in.
Well,
I don't think our code compliance, they're not allowed access into someone's backyard. So this is impossible to enforce. I think the issue that arose was that somebody's light in a 20-foot home, 30-foot home is shining, and it's annoying, and I understand that. I think shielding over a certain height, and again, I don't think it's very difficult to ask people when you put in a light to make sure that it is aimed at your property and not into your neighbors. That is the only two things that I would walk and approve over here. The rest of this is just an overstep.
So
as far as retroactive, sorry, Mr. Vice Mayor, but as far as retroactive, I do not want to start going after residents after their lighting. Everything has a lifespan. At some point, they're going to have to replace it, just like we did with the artificial turf and everything like that. You know, hedges.
When do you know when they have that situation that they need to change that light? I mean, you won't know. I think that it should be something. Maybe you send this out to neighbors and see the people who are causing these situations, and send them a letter. Be a good neighbor and put a shielding on your light.
I think that's a good approach, but to start having the city going after somebody after a house that was approved and built and is living after, you know, is not the direction that I want to take it as an elected official. I think you know, the neighbor can approach and say that, but again, these things have a lifespan and have to be replaced. And at a certain point, it'll have to be brought up to code. But there's nothing wrong with telling people, you know, and asking them to shield their light. Especially, I think it's one property we're doing all this over, and this is extremely complex. And I'm not an expert in this, and from what I'm hearing, neither is our code compliance. So we're asking for a lot. Sorry, 1 second, Commissioner. Yes.
So I think this is very complex, and I'm just going to break like a hypothetical down. So first of all, I don't think it's just over 10 feet. I think it should be, I would have taken out the word 10 feet and just it should be all. But where we get the problem is, so we're good with, you and I said we were good with LED lighting, but how do you shield an LED light? If you want to have a spotlight for security, how are you supposed to shield that? The point of that is to shine bright. So I think it's a little bit more complex than just saying. That's why I think this is complex.
That's why they did over a certain foot, I think. You know, and maybe 10 feet is a little too low, because any house built on a platform is going to be over 10 feet. If you have a light outside your door, you know, you're going to have to shield it now.
Right, but the problem is, what I was saying is,
I think
it's on one-story homes though it's sometimes on the sides that people are complaining hi-hats on the sides because they're shining into the windows. Those are at 8 or 9 feet, so that's also the problem. So it's not just a number. The front's usually not an issue, and I can use, Commissioner Landsman has one with a neighbor that has a next door. I know he has hi-hats on the front that lights up the front and for security. I don't know if he has them on the side, but I know some neighbors have them on the side and they complain because they shine into the bedroom windows.
Yes,
So if it's a little bit more complicated to that, because you want it to shine for security reasons. When it's on a second story, clearly it lights up a lot more because it's not being shielded by another home, especially on a corner.
Is that a temporary security light, or that's on all the time?
some of them are on all the time. I mean, I could show you
Yes.
multiple houses, or I can't show you, but I could give public records of addresses. I've driven around. There's at least 10 to 12 homes. There's more single-story homes that have lights shining. I had lights shining into neighbors than two-story homes. So it's a combination, but it's not just as simple as saying we need to shield it. That's why I think it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Commissioner.
If I may, just one more, maybe we get to some conclusion here. The irony here is we had one resident who is not living next door to this one house. He's several houses away, but he happened to be walking by and saw the lights and felt it was too bright. So it's not an issue with that resident's home having any lighting coming into his bedrooms or his house, because that house is a couple of blocks away. I don't know of any other resident that's complained about the next door neighbor and having lights shining into their home. I've not heard of any. If you have.
I have, as a matter of fact, I've heard from one of our P&Z board members that he has an issue like this, and maybe, and
Right.
I've heard from him.
That might be
So-
that might be two, and we have a few homes in our town. Maybe what we can ask the manager to do is take this back and work on it again. I think it is overreaching. It's way too complicated, unenforceable.
Well,
Shielding makes sense, and we can probably do some retroactive requests for shielding. It's an addition to the fixture that you can perhaps add after the fact. That you can't, if a home is built and the lights are not 20 feet separate, you're not going to ask someone to take away lights or change their roof line, et cetera, because if it's built, it's done. I don't think it's right to say take those lights away because they're there already. But I think we can simplify this, make it amenable. Shielding is great. Appropriate number of wattage, not lumens, to make this simpler for us to understand and then enforce.
Well, I gotta say, first of all, I mean, I've lived in town for a long time. My neighbor behind me, he has a nice big spotlight that goes right into my bedroom window. I enjoy that there's light behind my house because I know it's safe at night. And guess what I do? I shut my window shades, and this has never been an issue. We had one resident come in here and complain that we concocted this entirely overly complicated ordinance. Put up shades in your bedroom. I have never had an issue. There is a spotlight, and I have shades, and I go to sleep. Nothing shines into my house. I want privacy anyway, so the bedroom gets shut. Again, lighting is our friend. Safety is our
Maybe you should do a survey or something. to
Maybe,
see-
but I definitely don't want to be
I-
creating
I
an
also
entirely
had that
complicated
situation.
ordinance because
I
one
agree.
resident came here and complained.
I agree. There needs to be tweaking here. I also had a situation with my neighbor, and I went and bought myself a nice palm tree, covered the light, and problem solved. But that may not be the case for everybody, and so.
Again, I don't want, what are we going to do? Look at this every month about wattage and this. I think we're stepping into an issue with the majority of the neighbors. People are going to get upset about their security lights, about their house lights, about decoration. I've never heard of anybody
Should be taken under consideration. here.
shielding, but what happens if a guy has a low level light on the side of his house as a decoration? I think maybe over a certain square foot, certain height. If it's on a second story, it doesn't need to be shining everywhere. But again, there's no reason why somebody can't shut their own blinds. People are responsible for their own things too.
But how do you have a security light on a second story if you want it to be lit up? Because then you
So
can't.
I don't know.
do it.
That's again, I don't want to touch this. I mean,
I don't-
I don't want to.
For me, I'm a no on this, so we call a vote and.
All right. So, all right.
I mean, so hold on a second. So you guys are trying to just not agree with this or try to fix it for next month?
I'm personally a no for now, especially because Commissioner Maishide's not here, so I'm going to be a no right
But then
now.
is this being deferred to next month when she comes back?
I'm not deferring. I'm just voting no right now.
But then if you vote no, then this gets canceled and we don't talk about this ever, well, at least for.
For me, I'm a no.
But isn't this like after 3 months, we can't bring?
Anybody who voted on this can bring it back within 3 months. The prevailing party can bring it back.
Oh, even if it's a no?
Yep. The prevailing party, whether you're a no or yes, can bring this back. I'm sorry?
The next meeting only.
No, that's reconsideration. If we say no, the prevailing party can bring this back with any time. The party that doesn't has to wait 3 months before it can come back as a discussion. You're referring to a reconsideration. So again, as is, Madam Clerk, you want to call the roll?
Commissioner Lansman?
No.
Commissioner Velasquez?
I guess no.
No?
No.
Vice Mayor Rose?
No.
Mayor Danziger?
Nope.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to resolutions and
Don't we have good
proclamations.
and welfare?
Yes, thank you. All right. Good and welfare set for approximately 8:15. Again, ladies and gentlemen, items that are not on tonight's agenda. Please be respectful. Please direct your comments towards the chair or the commission as a whole. Please don't speak directly to any of the commissioners. Your time clock is over there. Please keep an eye on that. I don't have to cut you off middle. All right. I think that. No, I will. All right. Mr. May, you are on the top of the list. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Victor May, 9117 Proud Avenue. I'd like to talk about the presence of public here and the reaction and the communication between the community and the commission. I believe that many people don't come because they don't trust the commission, that they listen to them, that they can help them, and they do care about this, all our residents. And the results of this referendum showed that it is true. I was very active and opposed Daniel Deach, who I believe was one of the best mayors of our town, because when he was running the town, the budget was $7 million. Now it is 65. We still have the same troubles, and nobody cares because you canceled, you delete budget committee, which could be very helpful to the commission, because you are discussing a lot of financial troubles and development questions, a lot, especially town manager, town project manager. But this is the same questions because it is like town manager assistant. You cancel this position, but they try to hire a new one with the same function. Projects. Do we move with undergrounding? I don't see it, but we spend a lot of money for this. During these 2 years, you had 2 years to show, to expose yourself and your ability to run the town, but nobody don't see it, even with big money. And Eden Hotel, you proved this construction of Eden Hotel, but it will affect and will have a great impact on the town because of many people will come. And do they pay for this impact? I don't know, but I believe they have to fix at least main water line because it is rusted and we need to replace it. And there is no money in budget to replace this rusted pipe. Flooding. You spend a lot of money for flooding, but it will not help the town. Oh, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. May. Mr. Velasquez, 3 minutes, please.
Putting the clock.
Can you wait, Commissioner?
Yeah, Gerardo Vildostegui, 9148 Froud Avenue. So I have three topics I wanted to address that all kind of broadly fall under the topic of good governance and anti-corruption. First of all, has there been, this is just a question, any public announcement about what the search procedure is going to be for the police chief now that Chief Healy has resigned? If not, I really want to urge the commission to have an open search. For the past two major hires that we had, the last police chief and the town manager, the searches were either really not held or severely compromised. And I think as a result, the town staff is becoming, let's say, sort of inbred in the manner of a medieval royal family. I think we need to look outside the town, at least seriously consider candidates from outside, and I hope the commission will do that. Secondly, I wasn't here last month when my neighbor, Ms. Salzhauer, made a suggestion that the new staff gym be open to residents, and that got shot down by the commission. I have an amendment then to that request. If residents can't use it, could there also be a rule that commissioners can't use it? And especially commissioners' families can't use it? It seems that, if this gym is an amenity for the staff, it's a really good opportunity to make it clear that the commissioners are residents themselves and not staff. And if the residents can't enjoy it, I don't think the commissioner should get to enjoy it either. The whole spirit of our charter is that you get paid $1 for your service and nothing more. And to have a gym membership is a very valuable amenity that's being denied to the residents. So I would say, could we have a rule that commissioners and their families cannot use the gym? Third, we have an election coming up, as a lot of people have already commented, and I'm a little worried about a few things. It's a shame that the town manager isn't here. I wrote to the town manager gravely concerned a couple of weeks before the last election when I found out that the mayor had scheduled a security forum for the night before a referendum that directly impacted both his current office and the length and the method of selection of the office and the length of the term he'd be running for. I got a really unsatisfactory response from the town manager. He said, people are really concerned about safety. And this was 11 days before the forum. I'm like, well, are they so concerned about safety that this has to happen 11 days from now rather than 13? What's the reason for doing it on November 6th? I got no answer. I also asked the town manager, I was concerned because the mayor has been sending out campaign emails that use the town seal, the town logo, photos of the new police trucks, photos of town staff, photos of the commission chambers. And I said, could you please ask the mayor not to use the town seal? That's against the town code, and he keeps doing it. The town manager didn't respond. And the reason I'm bringing this all up is we have an election coming up, and it's imperative that the staff appear neutral in that election, not just be neutral, but appear that way so that people can trust them. And what happened with the timing of this security forum, with the mayor's use of the town seal, is extremely disturbing, and I hope it can be addressed before the next season.
Thank you, Mr. Velasquez. Mrs. Salzauer, 3 minutes, please.
Aliana Salzhauer, 9317 Bay Drive. I want to take the opportunity to be the first one to inform residents of the results of the election because the town neglected to do that. The town sent out a little email that said, did not pass, did not pass, did not pass, did pass. That was the summation after an enormous educational outreach of Gazette money spent, of a lot of mailers. I know that the mayor himself was very, very busy. In fact, I want to read from it. They've had their turn, now it's ours. If you're on board with all the positive changes that have been happening over the last year and a half, if you believe in investing in our town's future, then join me in voting for it. Today's referendum. Together we can make Surfside an even better place to live. And then he asked everyone to vote yes on item 1, yes on 2, yes on 3, yes on 5, and no on 4. And the residents were very vocal about how they felt about these issues. And I want to counter that one of the commissioners just said that he has enormous support, that there's enormous support. So 473 residents is your enormous support. I would argue that's not an enormous number, especially in the face of 954 residents that felt differently, that don't support any of these agenda items and don't support you. You have 3 months now. I would suggest that you not run again for re-election and read the tea leaves. I remember when we were looking for a manager, and the manager was supposed to come in an interview, and one of the commissioners, Commissioner Rose, made a motion to just hire Hector. And that didn't go over, but he said, well, you know what? People have to come interview. I want you to watch this meeting, and you think if you want to come interview. That's what he did. He said, see if you really want to come interview after I've told you I just want to hire Hector and I don't even want to talk to the rest of you. So using that logic, why don't you see what the residents think of you and your service and your ideas and recognize that there are only 473 of those residents that are not informed enough to blindly vote however you tell them, because that's going to somehow save the Jewish people of civilization, which is insane and insulting considering I'm Jewish and so are a lot of other residents that do not support these initiatives. And I want to say that the one great thing that you did manage to accomplish that you should be very proud of is you got record turnout at the polls to come and vote no and to tell you what they thought of you. Record numbers. We had 1,400 residents, over 1,400 residents. Wasn't even a real election with candidates. It was a ballot election. And yet 1,400 residents came to tell you where you can stick your great ideas. So read the room, read the poll numbers. Polls don't lie, numbers don't lie, And don't run for re-election, please. Take your good ideas and put them to use someplace else. Since the mayor prefers to be in Tallahassee twice a month on taxpayer dime, move to Tallahassee so you can lobby full time. You want options and choices? You have the option not to run. You should have the choice to stay home. And Commissioner Rhodes can go back to just profiting.
Thank you, Mrs. Salzauer. Mr. Jacobson, 3 minutes, please.
Ben Jacobson, 9455 Collins Avenue, apartment 309. It's been going around the town, and we got some nice new updates here. There's a clock on the wall. It'd be nice if it said the time when it wasn't counting down. I wonder if we could fix that. Town fixer. Anyway, also, I noticed I was at the beach party the other day, and our beach chairs outdoor are full. Seems residents are very, very happy with that. So I want to thank the commission for creating a process where now everybody can go to the beach and enjoy the chairs. I was kind of, very, very surprised to hear the vice mayor earlier today talk about that there's this one commissioner who decided she was not going to vote when she was running after every single person. Everyone who came out of my car, she ran to go after them. And here we are. She didn't even vote. Why? Because, when you don't live here, why vote here? Don't want to go to jail. But, I just want to bring up a couple items and thank everyone for all these things, and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. All right. Any other public comment? I don't have any cards. At this point, we are closing good to welfare, opening up for commission response. Let's try to stick to 3 minutes, please. Commissioner Lansman, you want to start?
Only 4 speakers. Wow. I'll do what I can to respond to a few of the thoughts. Mr. May, I think people don't come perhaps because they appreciate what we do here and they have confidence in our abilities to run the town as we have for more than 1.5 years. So I think the folks that don't come here actually say they're doing a good job. We don't need to be involved. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of people that watch from home. The feedback I've gotten from most of those people that talk to me that I speak with are saying, thank you for what you do. So I don't understand your perspective. The Eden Hotel, I don't know where you brought that into the conversation. That was approved 2 commissions ago. We had no involvement with the Eden Hotel. That was, I think, Deitch's commission 4 or 6 years ago. By the way, it's off. It's been sold. It's going to be an apartment complex now, not an Eden Hotel. So that's not going to happen there. Mr. Valdestigui, the manager will run and has responsibility for any sort of search for the police chief. He is the manager. The police chief reports to him. It's not a commission decision, so I'll defer to the manager and human resources, and I'm sure they'll do the appropriate thing. Jim Hughes, I have a question. I do get paid $1 a year, Madam Attorney. Am I considered an employee of the town of Surfside if I get a paycheck for $1 a year? No?
I don't believe so.
But I'm compensated for the work I do. How is that not considered an employee?
I can look into it.
Okay, would you do that for me? Thank you. Because again, I get a $1 paycheck. I think that should qualify me as an employee. Therefore, I should be able to use the gym. Election is coming up. That's correct. And I will, if running, make sure that I follow the rules, and I encourage every other candidate to follow all the rules. Madam Salzauer, your comments, I have no response. There's nothing to be said because you are who you are. And Ben, I thank you as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Lansman. Commissioner Velasquez.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Regarding the police chief, I think I agree with Gerardo. There should be a nationwide search, but I think that's something that should happen when the new commission comes in and finds their own chief. I think right now we're doing perfectly fine with the current chief. I don't think that this is the time to be looking for another chief. In terms of the gym for the residents, I do agree that residents should also be using this gym, and if they can't use it, and in terms of being an employee, well, an employee has to you have to sign a W-2, you have to give your social security number. There's a certain amount of things that happen when you become an employee of any business, just in case you didn't know, because you have to pay taxes on that. And you got to get I'm sorry, that's a W-4 when you become an employee. W-2 is when you get your thing for your taxes, sorry. So when you get your slip to do your taxes, you get your W-2. So if you don't get a W-2, that means you're not an employee. You're an elected official. There's no perks here of any kind. That we have expenses that, going to Tallahassee and spending in nice hotels and, taxpayer dollars to further your political agenda. Yeah, okay, well, maybe you can get away with that. But in terms of actually being an employee, I don't think we qualify as that. And I do agree that all residents should be using this. So it should be only limited at the moment for employees if we're not allowed to use it, and not commissioners and their families that come and use it for their daily activities and to turn town hall into a daycare. So I'm sorry, but that's unacceptable. Other comments? I don't remember. I think that things should change in our town. I think our residents spoke very loudly on November 7th, and they did not pass the ridiculous questions that were on there that were only going to hurt us. I'm glad that people saw through this and that they were able to come to vote in a large amount. And I hope that for March 19th, we have an even bigger crowd. So I encourage everyone to come and vote. If you're registered, just come and vote. If not, then please get registered. We need people to come and vote on March 19th. On that note, I'm good. Thank you.
So I'm going to try and address every comment, every item. Victor May, people come to these meetings, we listen to them. What I've said before many times, we just may not agree with the items, but we do listen. Whatever information former Commissioner Salzauer told you, no, we did not approve the Eden Hotel. It was not approved under us. It was approved 2 commissions ago. Jerry, search candidates. We did search candidates, and Commissioner Salzauer, what you said, if you actually look at Hector Gomez, he was unanimously voted on and approved by all 5 commissioners because he is obviously beyond the most qualified. All 5 commissioners graded him the highest and unanimously approved him. I am glad you and Commissioner Salzauer see the need, and that is why I push forward a resident-only gym at the tennis center. That is going to be coming because it is needed for this town. Single-family homeowners, a lot of residents on the west side of Collins that live in condos do not have access to gyms, and they're far away. The town is building a resident-only gym and a rooftop pickleball court where the current tennis center is being housed. So there is a need. This commission saw that there is a need and deficiency, and it is for a resident-only gym. The and tourism can use it. I mean, they got their hotels.
Used with tourism
I
money?
didn't interrupt you.
So can Nelly use it?
And yeah, she is a tourist.
Tourism money you can't pay only for residents. Just
Yes.
One second, Commissioner, nobody interrupted you. Can you
Yeah,
please let the Vice Mayor
it's with-
speak?
You're lying
Thank
to
you.
residents.
If
again.
Commissioner, nobody stopped
We
you.
want our
when-
tourists to use it, they could use it, but we do have a resident gym that we're going to be
Yeah, but then
putting.
don't say only residents. Just say the truth
And
for everyone.
Commissioner,
Commissioner,
please stop interrupting. Nobody interrupted you when you spoke.
Sorry.
Please let him speak. Thank
I
you.
apologize.
Thank you.
It's funny how people say, listen to the poll numbers, listen to poll numbers. Former Mayor Barquette's been voted out of office 3 times. Former Salzauer was voted out of office, yet she's going to be running again, and they're running again. We are listening to poll numbers. I have, once again, we're at 43 interruptions. I can say for myself, the items, I'm glad we had a record turnout, but these items were not about us commissioners. This was brought by our Charter Review Board. I can tell you for myself,
Commissioner Velasquez, please stop interrupting.
I can tell you for myself, my wife didn't agree with all the items. We voted differently. It's not indicative of how they support candidates. This was item by item. I spoke with Mr. Jacobson. He didn't support all the items. This isn't about candidates. This was about certain items, one by one, how individuals felt. There are a group of people that wanted to make it seem as this is a person item, but this is one by one that our charter committee brought us. And I'm glad the residents showed up and had difference of opinions, because it is what democracy is all about. It seems it's going to happen in March, and the same thing we're going to see the next 4 months. We're going to see a lot of campaigning from the dais, from the audience, but it is what it is. We're still going to be doing our job here as elected officials and govern. And I appreciate everybody sitting up here with me, and I appreciate all the residents that participate.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Try to get through this quick. Some of the comments: the town budget has grown so much over the years. Yes, the revenue has grown as well, as has the service to the residents, and that's what happens to a town as it grows. Moving projects underground is stalling. It's a large project. It's not a 2-year project. It's not something we can get out. There's currently, and if you read the town emails, there's currently conducting surveys right now. You missed some of these complaints, but yeah, they were saying nothing was happening. The job is a long process. As it turns out, the previous commission forgot to go ahead to AT&T and Comcast and everybody and ask them if they wanted to go underground, which would have meant if we went underground, they still would have been up on a pole. So yes, there's a lot of planning that goes involved, a lot of coordination, and this job has to be done properly. In regards to searching for a police chief, I want to be very clear. Our town charter forbids the town commission to be getting involved in the hiring and firing of town staff. That is not something for the town commission to be getting their involved in. It's not for us to be telling the town manager. That would violate our charter. It's up to the management after us to figure that out. As far as the gym, thanks for bringing that up. Yes, the commission, as the vice mayor said, is building, in the process of building a resident, for free for the residents, a gym down on 88th Street, complete with resident only.
I don't know if it's a resident only or tourism.
Maybe not tourism as well, but they'll have a gym in their hotel. So, but it is a resident
well, I mean,
gym.
sorry for interrupting, but if you're staying at the Four Seasons, you're probably not coming to our gym.
Probably not.
Four Seasons is a
I'm going to talk about the security forum because somebody brought that up. I know there were multiple ethic complaints about that, which are going to go nowhere. But it was a crucial item to discuss. I know all of you were on there, and not one mention about any of the items on the referendum or that were coming up for a vote. This was focused on security, which was a big concern for our residents, along with many of the security-related initiatives that we have been doing around town to educate the residents. I'm going to tell the residents to look out. We're doing more of these programs. The next one is going to be condo safety, everything related to condos, some of the projects going on next door to some of the condos. There's going to be some, construction moving forward. Some of the projects are moving forward. As far as assessments, everything that pertains to condos, so that'll be the next one. So thank you for giving me the plug to go ahead and talk about that. Jerry mentioned, Hector, you missed a lot of complaints to the town manager about my emails. I just want to be very clear. I don't work for the town manager. I know you've already filed ethics complaints. Those are going nowhere, so let the process work itself out. The town, as one of Mrs. Salzhauer mentioned, that the town didn't send out. The town did send actually a link out to the results where you can see it, both on Nextdoor, through emails. It was posted everywhere. I do want to thank Mrs. Salzhauer for reading my email out. I'm forbidden from campaigning up here, but I guess if you want to come up and read them during good and welfare, I can't stop you. Again, discussing one of Ben's items, the commissioner didn't vote. We had a commissioner who screams and yells about rules but didn't vote, and the reason for that is because, as we said it 20 times, she doesn't live in town. As far as the comments for Tallahassee, that I stay in nice hotels, let me tell you something.
Sorry, point of information. Are you saying on the record you voted?
Of course I did.
Sorry for the interruption. We talked about truth in government. There is a public record request that I have here in writing. This is for Commissioner Velasquez. She did not vote.
Okay.
So you just lied to the residents. Thank you for violation truth in government.
All right. As
I'd like to submit it to the record for evidence.
Go ahead.
All right. The comment about going to Tallahassee and staying in nice hotels, I don't know if you've ever been there and stayed at the DoubleTree. It smells like mold. It's terrible. It's not fun to leave your family for those few days and do this. But going out there is the responsibility that I take seriously as somebody who represents the city. We've had in the last session record number of appropriations given to the town. I was the only one out there fighting Live Local. We actually have an amendment right now that I'm trying to get passed to keep our town off of those things and many of the other issues that legislative issues that matter to our residents. So yes, I take this job seriously and I'll continue to represent this town as best as I can. And that is all for my comments. So let's move on from good and welfare. You guys want to take a 5-minute break? Bathroom.
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, guys, if we can have a seat, we're about to start. We're live. All right. Madam Clerk, if we take the roll, please. Call the meeting into order.
Mayor Danziger,
Present.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Here.
Commissioner Landsman,
Present.
Commissioner Velasquez, absent from the dais. Commissioner Machado is absent.
All right.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5A, public hearing, on-demand transit service through Phoebe Share Ride. Madam Clerk, if you read the title of the ordinance into the record, please.
A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, accepting public hearing comments relating to the establishment of an on-demand transit services to replace the existing town shuttle service and use of transportation surtax proceeds for the service, confirming public comment period, and providing for an effective date. Item 5A, this is a public hearing item.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager, if you'll just give us a brief introduction, we'll get a motion on the table, and then I'll turn it back over to you.
Will do, Mayor. Thank you very much. Public hearing notice. We do have a member, representative of Freebie present, Gus Doyle. I'll invite him up if you have any questions or if the community has any questions for him. But nonetheless, the town of Surfside is seeking to establish a mobile-based on-demand transportation service. The proposed on-demand transportation service will replace the existing shuttle service and consists of one 6-passenger electric operating a vehicle operating in the area designated, which is the extent of the town, upwards into Ball Harbor shops and into Kane Concourse of Bay Harbor Islands during designated hours, and possibly an additional vehicle of same make and model within the same fiscal year for a total of 2 vehicles by the end of fiscal year. The proposed on-demand transportation service has an anticipated start date of March 2024. We are seeking public input on the proposed on-demand transportation services. Today, the services would replace the shuttle services. This was a item that was approved during the fiscal year budget 2024, the adoption, and was a result of our budget engagement workshops proposed by Commissioner Maishad. Turn it over for you, Commissioner, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Can we get a motion on the table?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Mr. Doyle, I'll turn it over to you, and I apologize for the wait.
Well, I'd like to thank all of you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, name and address for the record.
Apologies. My name is Gus Doyle. I'm with Freebie, the on-demand electric transportation service that is being considered here in front of the commission today. Thank you for having us. And I'll be very brief because I just wanted to thank all of you for your service. I wanted to thank the folks at Public Works, the town staff, as well as the officers for all that you folks do. We work very closely with all branches, all forms of city government, the first responders in efforts to alleviate congestion, encourage folks to get out and support local businesses. For those that may or may not be aware of what Freebie is, it's a hybrid cross between on-demand transportation, but then there's also a guide to the municipality itself. So there is a guide within the app of where the fantastic events are, the great restaurants, the great salons, etc. It's very exciting to be here again. It sounds like you guys have some really fantastic events that are coming up. So with what we do, and we're thrilled to be able to be talking about this, that for folks that might be able to take a free ride to and from these events, alleviate some of the congestion in the high foot traffic areas, but then also just for families. We're a community-based service. We work very closely with Parks and Rec, like I mentioned earlier, but seniors love our service. We've been featured and talked about quite a bit recently on the news with the Better Bus initiatives that are going on throughout the county and throughout the state. Our program is custom to whereas we can customize the program to tailor the needs to whatever challenges that each municipality may have with public transit, but then also to encourage people to leave their vehicles at home, and also increase the ridership of the already existing transit entity that is in place, i.e., first mile, last mile, picking people up from their homes, taking them to the trolley stops, taking them to the bus stops, picking up from the bus stops, taking them to work, or taking them from point to point. And so that's a big part of what we do, and we're just very excited to be able to be here today speaking with you folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. I'm going to open up the public comment. Mrs. Salzauer, 2 minutes, please.
Eliana Salzar, 9317 Bay Drive. This is a wonderful idea that actually a prior commission came up with. I think it was our commission, maybe even the one before that. This is something that we tried to get done, and you guys neglected for a really, really long time. And now that there's just a little bit left of time, suddenly you're undergrounding, and suddenly you're freebieing, and suddenly it's like, it's just, you couldn't write a better script, really. So fortunately, residents are wise to this. So I do support this, though, and thank you for bringing your service to our town. And I know that you don't have any intention of being a political pawn here, but this is clearly a last-ditch so you can point to something and said, I did that. But really, your legacy is a bunch of rusting beach exercise equipment, I think.
Salzar, please sit down.
So, thanks so
705
much.
forbids you to have slanderous and impertinent remarks. You're not here to talk about the item.
Slanderous,
Please sit down.
impertinent?
Please sit down.
Now you're
Slanderous remarks. Please sit down.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Your Majesty. Please pardon me. Pardon.
Salzauer, behave, or I'm going to ask you to leave. Thank you. Ms. Salzauer.
Apologize to everyone. My sincerest apologies. Thank you.
All right, moving on to real town business. I mean, I
Desperation is-
understand the previous commission thought of it, and why didn't they do it? We've been budgeting this from last year. I got to tell you, my concern was first, of course, was the seniors. I know we sat down, we had many meetings with the seniors. They were very excited about this program after one of your representatives, presented all the items. I know the mayor of Aventura talks about this all day long, and he boasted. So we're very happy to bring this into our city. So, closing public comment, we'll bring it to the commission discussion, or we can just call a vote. Are you still timing me?
I didn't want you to get it buzzed on yourself because I was going to have to throw you out of the meeting.
Again, we got a great grant. Thank you to the town manager and our grants writer who was here for part of the meeting. That was great to get that money from the state to help defray the cost. And yeah, it's this is not like something we just decided a few hours ago to start investigating. This has been a process for our budgeting cycle both years. So yes, this is a great idea. Let's move this forward.
All right. Call the vote, Madam Clerk.
Sorry. I support this. I've heard very good things of the program. I've heard from our residents that they're very excited to see this coming to our town, and thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you for being here, and we do support this, and I'm hoping that this will grow in the future. And I have some comments, but hopefully it gets interconnected with a lot of other cities, but that's something to talk about off the record, probably for future. But this is a great thing, not just for here, but for a lot of other areas. So thank you, and keep it up.
Yes, I guess I'll make a comment too, even though I made one before, but for the seniors watching at home, or for them, even though this is an application, there's also a phone number for them to call for those that are not, friendly with their mobile phones. Some of the improvements, first of all, is customized destinations as opposed to what is existing now with the shuttle. Customized pickup locations. I've heard from senior residents that had a hard time walking the 2 blocks because they started diminishing some of the stops of the shuttle. They can make a call, get picked up, and be taken straight to their destination. So, after learning about the program, this seems like a very great addition. So thank you for bringing this here. Glad to have it. Madam Clerk, can we call the roll? And thank you for staying here tonight.
Commissioner Velasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Landsman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danziger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 5B, resolution in support of Senate Bill 172 in support of veteran housing. Madam Clerk, if you'll read the title of the ordinance into the record, please.
A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Surfside, Florida, urging the Florida Legislature to adopt Senate Bill 172, which will require the Department of Revenue to establish a property tax exemption or discount eligibility verification procedure for certain disabled veterans and surviving spouses before purchasing property, providing for transmittal and providing for an effective date. Item 5B.
Thank you. I think for the record, we have a commissioner leaving early at 9 o'clock. I guess government business, it's too hard. All right, I'll just give a quick introduction. I actually read the Senate bill. What this does is it allows for veterans to try to establish a tax exemption ahead of time of buying the house. They're entitled to certain discounts and different programs. However, they have to go buy the house first to apply. This will allow them to apply and see if they're eligible ahead of time. So I think it's a good thing to support. Of course, we support our veterans and anything we can do to help them. And I believe this is for disabled veterans, which is most of the Marines that come out are like 99% disabled automatically, just for their hearing and things. I don't mean mentally. I'm going to stop talking, but I have a lot of friends. But yeah.
Can I make a motion to approve?
Second.
All right. All in favor, Madam Clerk, can we call the roll, please?
Commissioner Velasquez, absent. Commissioner Lansman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Danziger,
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Manager, moving on to item 7A, Town Manager Report.
Mayor, thank you very much. The town manager report for November 2023 was provided in your agenda packet. If you have any questions, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get a motion to approve the Town Manager's report?
Motion to approve and keep up all the good work on our projects.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Moving on to item 7B, the Town Attorney's report. Madam Attorney.
Yes, Mayor. So there's only one litigation item still pending. All the other matters have been resolved. That is the Solimar litigation challenging our stormwater ordinance and fee methodology. It's on appeal, and I believe the appellant has until December 8th, as written in the report, to file their initial brief, and then the town will need to respond to that. Other than that, there's no other litigation to report.
All right. Thank you, Madam Attorney. Can we get a motion to approve?
What are Lily and Tony going to do with all their time? They're settling everything. Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to item 9, Mayor's Commission and Staff Communication Permitting Fees for Condominiums for Certification and Special Assessments. It's being brought forward by Commissioner Maisha, who is absent. Do we want to defer or discuss this item?
Motion to defer.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to item 9B, retaining walls in the H30A and H30B. Mr. Vice Mayor, this is your item if you'll introduce it, and then we'll get a motion on the table.
So this is something I've been in touch with the town planner about. This has come up on new houses with retaining walls, heights of them grade, and it's something as people are building new houses in our town. This is part of the code that's really never been addressed. So this is something as a discussion to how we want to address as it has come up, not just from me, but I've heard from the town planner and some neighbors, like when they're building. I didn't have a real clarification on where to point them in the zoning code. So this is a discussion on how to address retaining walls and grade. So that was basically the introduction for it. And I know our town planner's not here, but our town manager I've talked about this with, so we can probably discuss it in depth and see how we want to what direction we want to move this in.
I'll make a motion to approve this going forward.
It's more of it's a motion for discussion right now.
Right, okay.
And I know the mayor hates those, but it's really just a motion for discussion to see what we're going to turn this in. I'm against you these days.
I'm also, again, for discussion, I'm also familiar with this issue as we're now building to design flood elevations 8+2, 10 feet above ground. We're dealing with houses being built next to legacy houses that are much higher. And the intent of our code is to have all water retained stay on the property. And that's pervious area helps do that. It's, swimming pool, et cetera. The problem is when you have a property in essence 6 feet taller than yours, And if you have just a fence that goes to the grass line, the dirt line, you obviously have water coming through, coming around. So the water's going to go to the lowest common denominator, which is the next door property. So I think what you're looking to do here is to ensure that an actual retaining wall, which goes into the ground, that will then retain, that's the word, the water on the property in question. So I would support this, but make sure that we have the right wording in the code. And I see Miami Beach's code here, which may be a good example to start with.
All right, so this is something I'm a little torn of as well. Obviously, we understand what the issue is, right? The runoff right now is going into the neighboring yards. At the same time, at a certain point in time, everybody's grade is going to be going up. If it's 10 years, 20 years, and I don't like adding additional costs to homeowners when the new requirement, requires that the houses be brought up to that level. However, we have a more immediate issue. I'm curious about the cost of these retaining walls. I don't know if you know that offhand.
No, so it's not that we're going to enforce retaining walls. So
I understand what it is.
But in the runoff, so they're expensive. But if it's basically, you want me to get into the details, or you want to keep going?
You want to just bring it forward as a first work with the
Not really. So I didn't want to bring it forward. So basically, the items are, if you build a new houses are basically sitting 5.5 feet off the ground. Not everyone puts in a retaining wall because they are very costly. So if you have two houses, a legacy home and a brand new house, they don't have to put in a retaining wall. They can just keep their dirt very low and still be able to retain it on their own site. That's not the issue. The issue starts coming in if you put in a retaining wall. So my house, I'm building a new house. You have an old house. I have now a new house next door. I put in a 6-foot retaining wall. Well, number one is we don't have anything that says you should finish the retaining wall on the other side. You could just leave block, which is not right. You should probably have to stucco your neighbor's retaining wall, and you should have to paint it white. And then if they want to put hedges or something in front of it, that's going to be up to the neighbor. The other item is your grade. You have your grade that you're most likely going to raise, but when you raise your grade, you have to be able to retain it. If you raised a new house is sitting 5.5 feet off the ground, and you put your wall at 6 feet, and your pool is now there, you need 42 or 48 inches as a barrier. I think it's 48 inches for the barrier for that. Well, the last thing you want to do now that your grade is raised all the way up is have to put another 4 feet on top of that, because then your neighbor would have a 10-foot wall. So how do we address that? My idea was if you raise your pool up and you raise your grade, you would have a 50% opacity fence on top of that 6-foot wall, which would then could be a 10-foot wall, but would be 50% open. Or do you limit the height of the grade of the own house that you're doing? And if you raise the grade, Miami Beach is at 30, maybe we went to 36 or 48. This is all open for discussion, but there are issues because I was approached by a house that was built 5 years ago, not by myself, but by somebody else, and they put up a wall. They raised their whole entire grade, and they built a wall, but the wall was actually 10 feet because they raised their grade 4 feet, then they have a 6-foot wall. But if you look at the neighbor's house, they're staring at a 10-foot wall. So it's kind of where should you measure grade from? Is it the neighbor's grade, the lowest grade? Is it crown of road? So these are just the items for discussion. It's not just something simple, but it is something that needs to be discussed and addressed, because as new properties are being developed and new retaining walls are being put in, people are looking for answers, and we don't have it addressed in the code. And I think that's kind of why, speaking with the town planner, why we wanted to have this discussion on what that number is. And I know the town manager can talk a little bit more.
Well, the other thing I want to say to your comment was measuring from Crown of Road was one of the mistakes the last commission did.
Yeah.
Because that line, the FEMA flood line is an evolving and moving thing. If we were going to start measuring, I would want to stick with that.
Right. So other places may measure from neighbor's grade, but what if you build two houses next to each other? Yeah. Then there's a low house, so they could. So it is a complicated issue, and I don't know how we
I
want
also
to.
don't like restricting, new development because somebody's house is way out of code currently.
I get that.
Neighbor's grade is below sea level now.
Yeah, I mean, it's already below anyway, but I don't think the neighbor should be staring at a 10-foot wall.
I don't think so either.
So is it a 50% opacity? And it should have to be finished. Like that wall shouldn't just be a block wall that looks like they're in a prison because they don't even have to finish it. We should have something in the code that says they need to stucco it, they need to paint it. Most people do that because it's a neighborly thing to do, but nothing says they have to do it. And then I guess obviously the other thing, which and I talked to the town planner about this, is
What if you want to build the wall, but your neighbor has mature hedges next door? How do you build this wall without going onto the neighbor's property? Without disturbing their, but it's a very complicated thing, because then you wouldn't be able to retain it's complicated.
What are you proposing?
I'm proposing a discussion, and hopefully we got some solutions here between the three of us and our town manager over there and our one last resident in the audience who is going to come up with something.
One last, you got to get straight.
That's why I hate motions for discussion.
You've got, that's right. That's a good thing for motion discussion. It's what also is interesting here. There's two residents. That's right, two residents. You know, I don't think we have a you know, the one property I'm aware of, the new house, it's not a true retaining wall they built. It's just a fence that goes to the next to Peter Zuckerman's house. Oh, okay. All right. That's what I'm aware of. The new house, again, 5.5 feet, 6 feet higher than because they did raise the grade. They put a fence in which goes to the property to the ground, but does not truly go into the ground to theoretically retain the water. So it's not a retaining wall, and it also ends, and so the water rushes around into the lower lying property. So that's the piece I was more aware of concern. Your points are well taken. If you know, I like when people don't raise their pools above that. If they can stay at grade, that's great, because then you don't have a pool that's 6 feet above your neighbor's house. But that's also allowed. So I think this is complicated. Absolutely. I think we should maybe move this forward and ask our town planner to dig into this and see what perhaps she can come up with. Because I don't know if opacity is right if you're going 10 feet. I don't know if that's necessarily the right solution, but I think we should either require retaining walls, and then how do we address it? Absolutely. If you're going to build a retaining wall, you have to.
I don't think you need to require the retaining. That's
well,
because you can keep your grade down below.
If you, if you keep grade below, correct. If you don't raise your grade, absolutely.
Right.
But if you raise the
your grade, you definitely
then you have to have a retaining wall. Yes.
And there's another thing, because if you're doing a retaining wall and your driveway used to come up, somebody doesn't want a retaining wall the right of way. Yeah, I know he doesn't want it, but it's a you know. That's I'm looking at the town. Well, he knows what I'm talking about. But if you're creating your slope to get to your driveway, I know that the town doesn't want a retaining wall in the right of way. But how do you start your retaining wall? You're going to have now these driveways that go the first 5 feet flat and start coming up. I mean, these are real items we have to talk about.
You don't start the wall until you've gone past the right of way. I mean, 5 feet, whatever. So, yeah,
I mean,
lots of
maybe
pieces of this puzzle.
I mean, some people with planning and zoning will be able to kickstart this maybe as a discussion, but it's a long one. I mean,
maybe can we task the town manager to task our town planner to come up with something, not necessarily for a first reading ordinance. I think it's a little raw at this point.
Through the mayor.
For discussion.
Through the mayor, if I may, I want to simplify this to 2 points that I heard echoed across, and I think we go back to those 2 base points. And my recommendation is we'll bring back some further discussion towards those 2 points. I don't feel comfortable with this discussion for a first reading just yet. I want to give you some things to bounce off of you, but here's where I'm understanding the 2 points are. Where do you measure the retaining wall? Is it from the lower grade or is it from your proposed grade? And in doing so, that's where is it 6 feet or 10 feet? I will bring that conversation back with some options. The other point is the retention of water, stormwater. I want to add to that. Currently, Chapter 34, environmental chapter, requires you to retain all your stormwater runoffs on site. But are we creating through our code conditions where that is not, there's a conflict? So that's something we would have to evaluate, it seems like. I will ask you a question pertaining to pools. It seems like unintended consequences of raised pools is this condition. Do you want us to bring back a discussion towards pool elevations and maximum elevations to pools, or do you rather just limit it to the first 2 items as trying to create a wholesome solution to this?
No, because we talked about pools before, and pools you want to be able to walk out on as a safety thing because you're sitting 5 feet in the air, and people want to be able to see their kids from their living room if they're swimming in the pool or their deck. They don't want to have to look down. Like you look where we are in the dais. It's basically you're looking down. Is the top of this is basically how far you're talking. Actually, more than that. Where you'd be. So we don't want to touch the pools, but that's why I said some sort of fencing that deals with the Florida building code for pool safety. Going to have to tie in. It's all integrated.
Through the mayor, allow us to bring you back to discussion items of those 2 points. We could bring back to discussion items.
I mean, so like Miami Beach, they, just so for example, in this area, we have some from Miami Beach, they limit grade to raising of 30 inches. We could say a number, it could be 3, I don't know. That all then ties in, to it. And are you going to treat H30A and H30B differently? I like to treat them the same. No.
All right, so let's get a motion, I guess, to direct town manager to bring back something for discussion.
Motion to bring something back to the town commission from the town manager and the town planner first.
So moved and second, yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to item 9D, regulation prohibiting on camping on public-private property. So we've got some visuals that I printed out and did not submit. If you guys want to take a look at this. And for Lily. And members of the public, if you're interested. Available. So let me just give a quick introduction. Recently, Miami Beach enacted legislation on and prohibitions on camping on public property. This, of course, had unintended side effects, which we were all anticipating, which is essentially their population of indigenous homeowners have moved up to Surfside. Transients. Their transients moved up now. We suspect they're even being dropped off here in Surfside. I know our police chief has told us that we've gone up. What was it? We have 3 times more calls in the last few days alone. These photos that I just handed, one was this morning and one was yesterday morning. So this is what we're starting to see here in the town of Surfside. It's imperative that we enact legislation. Miami Beach has put something, I drafted something which is almost identical to theirs, minus a few things that were specific to their code. But essentially, first of all, let me be very clear. There's a difference between someone who is homeless and someone who is a transient. As per the Miami Beach even discussed, someone who is homeless is usually not a choice. To put it simple, this is someone who had unfortunate circumstances and now finds himself without a place to go. Someone who is a transient has made a choice. And that is really essentially the difference. That comes along with people who feel the rules don't apply. That brings crime. I can't even tell you how many rapes Miami Beach is dealing with right now. And this is something that they're trying to address. So again, we are the borders of Miami Beach, and it's all ending up here. So put legislation forward to try to adopt into a first reading. I guess, should I make a motion, or you guys want to do it?
A motion to approve this.
Second.
All right. Let's get some public comment on this. We've got Mr. Jacobson. Well, let's see. Which one was it?
Ben Jacobson, 9455 Collins Avenue. Just one additional item to put into there. I'm not sure if you're aware, but our 24-hour post office, which a lot of residents use to have their P.O. boxes there, they started locking the post office in the evenings because there was people, transients, or sleeping inside of the box, and it's not fair for all of the residents here who have been using that post office for years to all of a sudden be locked out of the post office and not be able to go because there are people there. Our police department needs to be empowered to take action, and that action, trespassing or whatever those items are, we need to be able to keep our facilities safe, and it needs to be good for the town. And I appreciate you taking these steps to protect our town from these unfortunate situations which are causing safety concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. I wasn't even timing you. So again, I'll open it up to the commission discussion. I think this is very important to do. Our job is to protect our residents and resident safety. And if Mr. Book is watching this, I just want to say there is part of the legislation requires our police department, first of all, to ensure, to check if they are indeed homeless and offer solutions, bringing them to homes. And if there are no available beds and no available homes, they have to be left alone. So they do have rights, but ultimately, if you're choosing to be here when you have other options, this is not acceptable. Any other comments?
Just to ask the town attorney through the mayor, do you feel comfortable being able to draft this for Surfside?
So the Miami Beach ordinance, which was adopted at the end of October, was essentially based on an 11th Circuit case, Joel versus City of Orlando, where the city's anti-camping ordinance was upheld. And the opinion is very specific, provided we follow the parameters in the case, in the 11th Circuit case. And also, as the mayor mentioned, offering support and outreach, and in fact, confirming whether or not these persons are involuntarily homeless or not. I think that we will meet the criteria in the 11th Circuit case.
Thank you.
And I don't want to speak for our police chief, but I know they're already working on, additional resources so they can ensure that they're following these guidelines and offering help to these people when they find them in the town of Surfside. But yes, when you're sleeping in a post office and they had to change the hours, that is a problem. All right, let's get a...
All
yes.
in favor?
Yes, let's do an all in favor.
Say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
I am in favor.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 9E, zoning code amendments. This is to clarify the 10 feet or 10% that we've discussed a million times up here. I would make a motion to, how do we do it? To not approve this item. What? Nope. I am going to not approve this item because I think our code is very clear. Tony has explained this multiple times, and I do not want to keep going back in circles and discussing this time after time for political reasons to try to punish a developer. So I'm going to make a motion to not approve this item.
Mayor, you're going to pass the gavel?
I have, yes.
Oh.
I got the gavel now.
I can second that.
Would you like to discuss, Commissioner Landsman? Or would you like to bite your tongue?
I always defer to Mr. Rescio, and is he still here, Mr. Oh, there he is. He's still here. We're going to save him for the maybe 9,243rd time explaining the definition and the discussion and the diligence and the discovery you guys have done. But at the same time, I love hearing him talk about this because it's such a, and it's early. It's only 9:22, so we could spend maybe 30, 35, 40 minutes on this, and I'm only kidding. Yes, I think this is something that's settled law. We need to move forward and let this be the way it is currently.
Mr. Mayor, you may have the floor.
While I'd love to hear Tony talk again, this item was clarified by our town attorney, our land use attorney, our town planner, our
Other town
other
planner?
town planner who's not a full employee, but somebody who's been working with us for a long time. These are the people who interpret the code. They've told us their definition of the code multiple times, just like an understory is not a third story. I don't want to keep working backwards in this town. I want to move forward, so.
All right. Madam Clerk, you may call the votes. I will allow it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Can I make a motion to extend?
No, but I do have one comment I forgot to add on before we dismiss. This was important. This was in my opening, but I forgot it. I don't know if anybody noticed, because I've noticed it because I drive around town all day and everywhere. Our community service aid has started. I have photos of it. They've been stopping people, double parking. They've been going through the neighborhood, on the route back. Excellent work. I've already seen it when I was in front of Wells Fargo twice already myself. I've seen them in the neighborhood, when they're doing their loop. Excellent job. I think it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing and getting rid of the double parkers and creating that extra sense of security in the neighborhood. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. You want to keep talking, or should we end this?
Too early. I can't.
No, Mayor, all around good initiatives from our police chief initiating community policing as a whole. There's been a few additional initiatives taken on board, and I do want to commend him for all those efforts, as well as to Sergeant Cruz for assisting us in being here tonight. So thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed? So noted, Mr. Vice Mayor.
What do I do? I don't go home.